Hello, friends. This is Chandrakant from Mac Technologies, and today we are going to meet a fantastic leader who joins us from UK. His name is Mike Bradley, and he is the Group Strategy Officer of RHF Group and ScaleUpArena. So, without further ado, let's meet Mr. Mike Bradley.
Hello, Chandra.
So, welcome to the Likeable Leaders, Mike, and our audience would like to know more about you. You are an accomplished leader
Okay.
with more than 2 decades of work experience. You've had many successes, many experiences along the way. So, why don't you share your story, how you became Mike Bradley, the Chief or a Group Strategy Officer or RHF at ScaleUp Arena, as we see you today?
Okay. Yes, thank you very much for that, Chandra, and good to meet you again. And yes, my journey, I suppose, has come through the tech sector principally, and been in that for you're very generous with 2 decades. It's been a bit longer than that actually, but I don't normally admit it. And so yes, I was working for an IT manufacturer, which was an interesting position and role. I was on the tech side, on the technical side, so it was quite heavy technical at one stage. Then I was, at a very young age, training manager for UK and Ireland for the tech people within that business. So I was immediately interested in people, and I guess that's sort of been a underlying interest right the way throughout my career. I was also, from an early stage, involved in channel and developing businesses in conjunction with the company, and that again has been an underlying route. So through the course of time, I've been in running businesses for IT distribution companies, been in sales, of course, always wanting and looking forward to getting into general management. I like the intellectual challenge. I love an intellectual challenge, variety, adventure, international work, working with people around the globe. So yes, strategic and corporate development. So it naturally came to where we are now. Always been interested in people around the world, the international scene. Also always interested in current affairs, what makes people tick, and working with people.
Amazing story, Mike. I think you are a great leader and you have seen the transformation. And I really beg your pardon, basically, for saying 2 decades. In fact, it should be 3 decades. So, what is your observation and learning from the transition of industry over last 3 decades?
Well, I think obviously the last 3 decades has seen a massive change from traditional communication into digital communication. And I think that has probably been the largest change that we have seen. I was in the early stages selling email, which seems crazy now to think we actually had to tell people what this concept was at one stage. But then, of course, it moved on. We replaced, telex with fax. Then fax disappeared. Then we went into audio conferencing. This idea of talking around the globe on the telephone. Then we went into web sharing, and things like WebEx came on the scene, and the products that will enable us to communicate in real time across the globe, internally in organizations and then externally. And then there's things like digital exhibitions, webinars. Here we are talking across the globe online. That I think has been the biggest change. And for me, there's a tremendous amount of potential in communication. The more we communicate, there's always a downside, but the majority of us, we can gain so much by talking, interacting, supporting each other on a global basis. And that's been a massive positive change for the whole world.
So I see the ScaleUp Arena behind you, the logo and the name of your company. So at this point, let's learn a little bit about what is ScaleUp Arena, what type of activities your company is doing, and what is your spread?
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, ScaleUpArena is there to support growing companies that are seeking growth. And there's two classifications we're all familiar with. There's startups and there's scale-ups. Okay, so you've got the early stage, the ideas, then you've got a startup. And the startup is traditionally the person that goes to the bank, says, I'm starting a new business. They spend 2 hours having a chat with the bank manager, telling them all about what they're going to do. The bank manager says, sign this piece of paper, and then says, I'll send you a debit card in the post and come and talk to me in 2 years when you've got some money. And that's the startup we're all familiar with. Then there's the scale-ups, which has become more popular as a term, which is very rapid growth companies that are 3 years of 20% year-on-year growth with 10 people at the start of that counting period. Now, if you think about it, between startup and scale-up, there's probably a minimum of 3 years, possibly 4 or 5. And I term those emerge ups. That gap is emerging companies. They're not startups. They're faster than that. They started to get traction. But the challenge is there's a big gap with nobody addressing and supporting that marketplace. So I put together ScaleUpArena as the first ecosystem, community, online digital community, online ecosystem, as a way for those emerge up companies to reach that scaling place and scale ups, hopefully, where they can basically get the 5 pillars of growth, which historically have been silo-ized and people have categorized them. So all these companies need resources, they need funding, finance, they need partnering, M&A and joint ventures, which is of course my background, so I'm passionate about that. And part of the growth story, you can't have a growing company without having partnering and channels to market. Then the third area is you need to be able to showcase that product or that shop window, which is the sort of third pillar of ScaleUpArena, a place where you can put an elevator pitch, a multimedia pitch that enables the company to be seen and found rather than going into this needle in the haystack approach on Google. And then fourthly, there's the importance of things like tutoring, training, learning and development. We never stop learning. It's a lifelong journey, as you know. But in order to optimize opportunities, you need to be able to keep up to date, particularly in the tech space, where you've got products obsoleting every 6 months. So you've got to keep learning. And so within that pillar, we have things like multicast like this, podcasts, people that are sharing their expertise, knowledge to support. And then finally, there's expert advisory or micro consulting, Micron as I call it, which enables those growing companies who need the skills of a multinational. They need a marketeer. They need a finance officer. They need a strategy officer. They need corporate support, tax incentives. But they actually maybe can't afford to have those people full time when they're emerging. But they could actually have them on a gig economy basis, a part-time basis, an iteration for a particular project, for a particular intervention, maybe weekly as opposed to every day. So those are the 5 pillars that ScaleUpArena provides on a global basis. You asked about scope. We have online meetings where we have people from around the world. We've got people from China, India, Africa, UK, America, though they don't join our virtual meetings because it tends to be in the morning and they're still sleeping. But we have interactions with those people around the globe, again, supporting that whole area that is vital for growth, which is the ability to, well, I call it connect, communicate, collaborate, cooperate, and then to close, because that's what it's all about.
So what it takes for the emerging companies to leverage the platform is basically a sign up or something else?
Well, they can become engaged in lots of ways, actually. They can become like a member of the ecosystem. And ScaleUpArena is a general one. We've just launched one called Insure Scale Up for the insurance space. We are also likely to be putting up another one soon for healthcare and life sciences. We've got geographic areas, so we're talking about doing one for India and one for the African region as well, 33 countries. ScaleUpArena will still be like the top, the root of all of that. But they basically become a member. And when they become a member, we give them an induction program and an optimization guide. And it's a real givers get community. So, like everything in life, you've got to, what you put into it is what you'll get payback on. And so it's all about collaborating and communicating together. Referring is a key part of it. We all know if we're trying to sell or buy something, a referral is worth a ton of advertising. So we encourage referrals right across the ecosystem. We encourage the members to have a listing for their company in the showcase, a expertise listing in the micro consulting expert area, and then also a vital, I think, is not just to provide information for learning and development and tutoring and training, but to actually use that as a soft sell, because a lot of us don't know what we don't know. So I recommend that they come up with an online briefing about their subject matter, because they're solving a problem. It's not that we have to sell, it's that people need to recognize they have a need. So we recommend they put up a briefing or a webinar. Maybe it's chargeable in some cases or free of charge, to say about their particular area, why it's so vital. And I think that's a real soft sell. So that's how they get engaged. Then we do all sorts of other stuff like social media, encourage them to put podcasts, video casts, exactly what we're doing now on specialist subjects to keep things alive. We're also building in now an ability to communicate as a member, create groups and communicate within those groups. We don't want to create noise, but we want to create focused conversations.
So I think the best way to describe is collaboration among the emerging companies, and put your strengths together to win something even bigger. So I think it's an amazing initiative, and the viewers who are listening can reach out to ScaleUpArena and register, take advantage of this. Moving on, you had so many successes in your career, long career. Would you like to share one of the biggest success you have had, and which is very close to your heart? How you accomplished it, what were the challenges you faced, and things like that.
Okay. Well, there's a few. I think strategic partnering with major corporates is the biggest challenge, because there's an awful lot that, I don't know if you're aware of the book, Chandra. There's Uncommon Sense and Common Nonsense.
I've heard about it, but I've not read it.
Yeah, it's an interesting book. And what it basically says is, let's say 80% of people follow the norm. Everybody thinks they've got to copy everybody else. But it's the 20%, the uncommon sense, that is the important thing. And the problem within a lot of corporates, I think, and particularly with partnering, this is important, is they get into groupthink. They start to think that they've arrived. And so strategic partnering is always an interesting one. And I think one of the biggest successes I had was when I was launching in 2006, launching a relationship with a large networking integrator across Europe, part of France Telecom Group. And the challenge was how to overcome this bureaucratic approach to going to market in a major corporate where everybody's in a silo and you've got to get all the approvals to make things happen. Bearing in mind, in the tech space, products are going obsolete every 6 months. You don't have 12 months to make a plan. And the approach I ended up taking, I think, was I'll go ahead and do what I know I need to do, and I'll take the rap later if I get a challenge. And one of the successes there was one of the early successes was closing a major opportunity in Northern Europe, in the Benelux area. And of course, until we had this deal, it was like, oh, why do we need to bother across Europe? There's loads of other products to sell, blah, blah, blah. But then when we closed this massive deal, all of a sudden, the market lit up. Everybody in the organization wanted us to come and pitch to them, get involved, sell something. And I think that was a really, great success. Another success for me was when I started doing work with India, set up a joint venture with a division of Tata. And so we had my employer, the American company, which was supplying the service for communication on the network of Tata. And so putting that together, it was for me, it was, at the time, it was a new geography. And I'd been, of course, since 2008, been across to India a lot, loved the people, loved the energy. That's why I think the living bridge is so interesting for us. Between the UK and India, we have so much to do together. And that went off very successfully, enjoyed that. And as a result, that was not just a success, but opened up a whole new international area for me. I guess another success was when I was chairing a business education charity. And it was all about helping 17, 18-year-olds to set up and run their own business in an academic year at school. And I restructured the local boards into a strategic and an operational board. And in the space of 4 years, we went from having 5 operating companies to 50. And I also ended up with, and I was working with the top 100 companies in that particular geography. I tried to get the corporates involved. So I went to the CEOs, the FDs, and the HR directors. And I had a lot of corporates come to me. And one of the great successes for me was one day, one of those MDs was retiring. And he contacted me and he said, oh, I'm just about to retire, Mike. I'd like to do something to help this charity, business education charity. And so he said to me, what can I do? And he worked for, I won't mention the brand, but he worked for a company where at a particular time of year, he was asked to get tickets for Wimbledon tennis championships. And people would phone him up, say, oh, can you get me this? Can you get me this, Peter? And so I said, I tell you what, why don't you help me raise some funds? Because this is the opportunity to reverse the tables. So you can phone up all the people that you've been giving tickets to and say, how about some cash? So he then came on board and did that. He was our sponsorships director. And that was another big success.
It's so great to learn from leaders like yourself. And I feel that, I'm truly blessed that I have this job and I learn a lot from leaders like you. You are truly a global leader. You have so much experience and spread. You work with multiple types of companies spread across multiple countries. And so, therefore, you have so much experience. So from your experience, would you like to share where the industry is going in this decade, considering that your clientele and your partners are spread across the world?
Well, I think in the whole world is going digital. And even in traditional technology, digital is now playing a part. I had a brief spell of running a hydraulics company. And at the time, the CEO of the hydraulics company prided himself, this was only 15 years ago, prided himself on not using email. And a bit like the retail stores who haven't adopted online strategies, what's happening is those companies that are traditional, who do not adopt a digital strategy for going to market, for marketing, for growing, are going to struggle. So I think that's one of the big changes that's coming. And thankfully, I've always been at the leading edge of communication, always been in digital. And that's partly where ScaleUpArena is coming from. We're also putting together, rebirthing actually, for SME IT opportunity, which is to help the 80% of companies who reside on the industrial estates of the world who don't touch tech, to optimize that in an efficient and effective way. I think that's the second, so the first one is digital is going everywhere. Second one is traditional technology is going to have to adopt digital. And the third one is, of course, everything is going much faster. If you don't optimize your opportunities in 3 years within the tech market, you deliver or die. And so the pace of change is much quicker, and we can only optimize the opportunities if we use partnering approaches, joint ventures, M&A, and smarter routes to market. So that's, I think those are the major changes.
And I think while going through your website, I learned about the investor help also you're giving to the emerging companies.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like to talk about that? How the investor community is going to shape up our future?
Yeah, well, I think obviously, again, taking all the other things into perspective, what happens is that typically a company forms around a technology or a product. And somebody will think, oh, I've got just a solution. I've seen this problem and I can create a product for it. And one of the most important things is to realize that actually it's great having a product, but you've got to find a market. And you've got to address the needs of that market by solving a problem. And that, I think, is probably the area that investors are looking for most, is how do they offset their risk? They're putting their money in, but their risk is reduced massively if they can see traction and go to market. There's every day we see great ideas coming in through the different ecosystems. The only snag is a lot of them say, oh, we're pre-revenue, but we want 500,000. Well, if it was your own money, how would you feel about it? And so I think when companies are approaching investors, they have to think, if this was my money, would I want to invest it? And so the key to that is have a good exec summary. They don't want War and Peace. They don't want 100 pages. They don't have time for 100 pages. What they want to know is that the money's safe. They got a good team. They've got a good proposition. They started to maybe get some traction. Don't start with trying to boil the ocean. If you can't get your local, easy connected people to join, how the heck are you going to boil the ocean? So you've got to prove the model in a small way, and then you'll develop. That's what I see happening. And of course, access to funding through global platforms like ScaleUpArena is going to become easier, but the basics are still the same. People are putting their money on to a proposition, and they want to know that they're going to, at least it's going to be safe, and ideally it's going to grow at a sensible rate.
Do you also see growth in more events around the crowdsourcing? Because the rule of the engagement will remain the same. You need to give the comfort feeling to the investors. But do you see crowdsourcing, crowdfunding playing a major role as we go along?
I think it has its place, and that also depends on the objectives of the founders. There's certainly, if you can build up a tribe, as it were, if you can build up a follower base, warm prospects, customers, they are potentially the ones that you can go for. B2C, I think it's much more popular than a B2B environment. That's not to say you can't do it in B2B, but I think there are more efficient ways to raise business funding. If you've got a consumer product, people will, if they're interested, they might go to your site, or you may be able to get profile and traction through Instagram or Facebook, etc. And then you might be able to draw the crowd to help make an investment. But I definitely think it's got a place, but it's more of a place for me in a B2C space than a B2B space.
So thank you very much for giving us all this information and sharing your mantra of success. What is your last message to the budding entrepreneurs who are watching this video?
I think there are three things. One is never give up. Okay, just don't be put off by the naysayers, because there'll always be people who say you can't do it. But you have to have a degree of pragmatism. There might be a time when you have to say we're going to stop. But I think it was in a film where it said, if things aren't yet all right, it's not yet the end. Yeah. And so that's another one. And I do believe, if in doubt, go for it, because you only live once. So if you don't try and achieve your dreams, you're guaranteed you're not going to achieve them.
I think this is a very powerful message, Mike, and I really appreciate coming to this show with you and discussing things about what you have done globally. It was lovely talking to you, Mike.
And you, Chandra, thank you very much for the interview. I've really enjoyed it. And have a great day.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Good morning, Neville.
Good morning, CK. It's Friday, it's day 10 of lockdown, and you've got some great news, I hear, from what happened yesterday.
Yes, today is day 10, and we got up early, and there was an early morning transmission on all channels across India. The Prime Minister of India was addressing the nation. And so he mentioned few things, he mentioned few ideas. He also hinted that, this is going to be a long battle. But most important thing that he mentioned today was he, as Prime Minister of India, is grateful to the citizens for following the lockdown, because that is one thing which will defeat the coronavirus.
You're absolutely right. And that word grateful, which interesting enough, yesterday we had the word feedback, which was an F. Today we've got grateful, which is a G. So we're following the alphabet, perhaps. Maybe we're taking a weekend off, remember, because tomorrow's Saturday. So we'll be back on Monday. But being grateful is really important, because we need to say thank you. We need to say thank you to our families, to our other halves, to our partners, to our friends, to our relations, to our kids, because working from home has not been easy. It's been a challenge for a lot of people. And equally, remember to be thankful to your team, because they're under lockdown too. They've never experienced this either. So be grateful to them. And there's another G there. Be gracious too. Be that boss that is thankful and mean it. Because everyone's struggling with what's going on. As you just said, your Prime Minister said, we're in this for a bit longer. This is a long haul. We're actually only delaying, we're buying time here. We're not stopping the virus. We're just buying a bit of time in many respects so that we can get better prepared for what comes next. And that's really important. And we need to be thankful for that too. So you've got your Corona warriors, and I believe, is it Sunday evening at 9 o'clock? Put a candle in the mirror in the front, window.
That's right. So Prime Minister urged the citizens to have another event to thank the Corona warriors by lighting, a candle or some sort of a light. Even if you don't have a light, use your mobile torch. Make light for 5 minutes while switch off all your lights in the home. So this is sort of a tribute that he has asked us to do for 5 minutes, 9 p.m. on Sunday.
Well, I think that's great. And, maybe that could be adopted around the world, although we're on different time zones. But we certainly light a candle. We had our clap for carers, we call it over here. Clap for our carers. That's the hashtag. And yesterday at 8 o'clock, everyone went out onto their balconies and to their front lawns and just clapped for 5 minutes.
Right.
My wife regularly puts a candle in the window at the same time. So that's our little tribute, if you like. We can all do little things. But the main thing is, the message today is the weekend's coming. It's halfway through your day already. Pick up the phone and say thank you to your team. And in the evening, say thank you to the family. We don't say thank you often enough. And the very mention of the word thank you brings a smile on your face too. Because it's a feel good. It really is a feel good factor. And then the more you say it, actually, the easier it becomes. Simple, isn't it?
Yes, it's a great idea. I think, thank you, Neville, for, telling us this idea. I think it is important. I'm going to do this as soon as this call is over. I'm going to organize a video call with all my team, whichever part of the country or whichever part of the globe they are. And I will say thank you to them.
Yeah, and I bet they say thank you back. Because we're humans, you hope so. Well, you soon find out, and it's okay. This is not weak leadership. People think, showing your vulnerabilities, showing your real self is a weakness. It's not weakness at all. It helps your organization get stronger. And people can say, I see what you're struggling with there. I can help you. Then you say, well, thank you. It's not difficult. You just have to start.
It's a great idea, Neville. It's very nice. I think thank you. I would like to say first thank you to you for spending time with me and also giving such great ideas. So first thank you from me to you on a Friday.
And the thank yous returned. And everyone out there, thank you for what you're about to do, because that's the really important thing. So enjoy the weekend. Day 10 today. We'll be back on day 13, which is unlucky for some, but let's make it lucky for you. Have a nice weekend, CK. See you Monday. And good luck, everybody.
Have a nice weekend and be safe, Neville.
And you.
Hello friends, this is Chandrakant from Mac, and today we would like to discuss about how do we bounce back into business. And this is a very, very important subject. To discuss this further and to take advice, let me invite my friend from UK, Mr. Mike Bradley. He is the Chief Strategy Officer of ScaleUpArena, and he works globally. He has organizations and clients and partners world over. So I think he's the best person to discuss on this subject. So without further ado, let me present Mr. Mike Bradley.
Good afternoon, good day, Chandra. Good to see you again, as always.
Yes, by the way, it's your birthday also. So from all of us in India, from Akulmac, we wish you many happy returns of the day.
Dhanawad.
That's awesome. And you remember this word, dhanyavad?
I do indeed. Bahutacha.
Bahut
The
acha.
one I can remember, or the three words.
Okay. So, Mike, I think the world is struggling because of the pandemic. Everyone is in the same boat, whether you are a large organization or you are a SME or you are a solopreneur or anybody, you are in the same boat. We are all in the same boat.
We
And
are
now
indeed.
with vaccination drive is kicking in, at least in a few countries to start with now, and soon it will become a global phenomena. So that means at least few variants of COVID will not trouble us, but I think there will be more to worry about. But I think we will protect at least 50% of the world. So now we need to discuss about how do we bring our economy back? How do we create our business from the scratch? What we should do? Would you like to throw some light on this subject?
I've got opinions. Hopefully, it will be seen as light. Obviously, our economies are all connected. There is a sense in which all businesses all over the world are living entities, and we interact with each other, much like the natural world. We're all part of a global economic ecosystem, and within that environment, each entity is a key worker, because we all have to do our best, generate energy, generate sustenance for the economies that we all work within, and whether that be a geographic based, whether that be sector based, whether it be size based, we are all actually key workers in pulling back these economies from the brink of, let's face it, pretty much disaster. Our own Chancellor in the UK did his budget speech yesterday, and I think, it was one of the toughest budgets apparently that we've had for 50 years, they were saying, because COVID has, taken every economy by the throat and giving it a good shake. So we definitely have to all work together, in my view, to support our economic ecosystems, whatever they are. We're probably members of lots of different ones at the same time.
So I think the reason for ScaleUpArena becoming very popular globally, if it is Africa, India, China, I think your platform is bringing a lot of businesses together. And I think it is one of these ethos of working together that you are trying to bring. Would you like to give our viewers a little bit a flavor of how we can work together?
I think the important thing is with the whole global economic ecosystem, and within that our own sectors and sizes of operation, is that we all have to, a bit like the Three Musketeers. I don't know if you know that in India, the Three Musketeers, all for one and one for all. We all actually have to succeed, but in order to succeed, we all need each other. And the whole ethos of the ecosystems, the online digital presence that we have, is that we help each other to succeed through the abilities to connect, collaborate, communicate, and also to close businesses together, to close business, because ultimately that's what we're all going to have to do to recover from this COVID economic vacuum that we find ourselves in. Vacuum being a gentle word for something that we're all in. economic chaos. But I think in order to do that, there are certain areas that we have to focus on, because the post-pandemic world cannot return to what it was pre-pandemic for all sorts of reasons. So there are a number of things that I think are important that we change. One of them is we have to, and I like alliteration, so apologies for this, I smash the silos. You know, in the public sector, we have this idea that we do this. In the quangos, we think we do that. In the telecoms, we think we do this. But actually, what we all need to do is work together and break down those barriers that say, oh, well, we can't do this because you're not the same as us. So in order to optimize the opportunities across all organizations and structures, we must get rid of this mentality of blinkered mentality, because we're missing opportunities, whether it be, oh, well, we can't see outside our state, we can't see outside our country, we can't see outside our sector, because actually we're all interrelated. So I think the first thing we have to do is get rid of that silo mentality and think, actually, we've all got to pull together here. The next one, the first couple are a bit negative. The next one is banish the bureaucracy. Get rid of the red tape, because actually we're in a fast-moving, competitive, dynamic world. And if we impose red tape on enterprise in that environment, we're actually not going to make it thrive, not going to make it profitable and generate taxes. What we're going to do is, in effect, governments are cutting off the arm that feeds them. We need to simplify bureaucracy, make it as online as possible, as simple as possible. A lot of tax collection can be done electronically. The amount of paper filling we need to do can be reduced vastly, and it's far more effective that our businesses spend 80% of their time selling and optimizing their potential, rather than 80% of their time filling out a tax return or ensuring that, oh, this bit of money stays in the country, because actually what we need is to generate funds in all directions and not have these bureaucratic situations. And another one I think is really important, and a post-pandemic particularly has changed this culture, is we need to cease city centre-centric commuting, because commuting takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of resource, it means that we spend a lot of money on infrastructure. And what we've all learned, I think, in this pandemic is that actually we don't need to spend 2 to 4 hours a day traveling to an office. We can actually work just as efficiently when we're working locally, maybe in a local working hub, maybe working from home, whichever your preference is. It's not saying you don't meet together, but it's saying that when you do meet together, let's do that more efficiently and effectively, rather than sitting in an office with a lukewarm, rather distasteful cup of coffee. Maybe it's the opportunity to go to a hotel, to go to a nice facility, spend quality time together with the team or with your clients, rather than insisting they come into a rather bland, expensive situation with a lot of travel time and cost. There's a few of the negatives that we need to change. I don't know what you think about those.
Well, I think I fully agree with you, Mike, for making these very important points. I have one very peculiar question. I think all the governments are now trying very, very hard to bring their economy back. Even the developed countries are having, like, for example, in your budget also, you might have seen, and you already mentioned that it is one of the most difficult budget that you have seen in the past. And most of the governments are now going towards protectionism or localization. Although we are more global than ever, and it was a wretched virus which came and taught us all. So I think we are at a place where we just need to get a little nudge so that people start really becoming global. I mean, we have been saying global for last. I've been hearing this word global for last 30 years. But I think for the first time, we are truly global, even though the governments are moving towards localization. How do you
Yes.
see ScaleUpArena filling these spaces in such a situation?
Well, I think one of the positive points is I think we've realized that we can go for global growth without having, again, to travel. Just like commuting, we don't have to go for a week to this particular place and spend thousands of dollars or pounds or rupees or dirhams in a hotel to do business and have a couple of meetings whilst we're there. What we can actually do is spend a lot of our time working virtually, presenting, having people from all over the world on calls, on webinars, on briefings about new technologies, about opportunities, about trading, about joint ventures and partners. We can do all of this stuff remotely. It doesn't mean we don't want to meet. Of course we want to meet. I'm looking forward to that curry we're going to enjoy in Delhi one day, Chandra, but we can do that on a less frequent basis. It doesn't have to be the thing that starts our opportunity to work together. It's the thing that complements our working together. So we can do the remote working, we can deploy and deliver digitally. We can go global working with local people in country. And if by having less red tape, having less protectionism, it means that companies are more likely to say, actually, I'm going to open a subsidiary in India because I don't have to worry about losing my cash on withholding taxes. What we should be doing is actually saying, how can we ensure that foreign companies want to come and invest here, work here, employ here, without being penalized by greedy, dare I say it, by greedy approaches to withdrawing their own cash back out of the company. I think that's a really very negative approach that is taken, which doesn't help. The ScaleUpArena helps in the fact that we have a global platform with the ability for people to showcase, to train, to educate in their new innovations, in their products, in their services, in their capabilities. Also for potential investors, potential growing businesses to find each other, interact with each other, and then trade and do business together. So, that's the whole ethos of ScaleUpArena, is it brings people together to generate energy, to generate sustainable deals together. So I think the whole ethos of ScaleUpArena and the other ecosystems for different sectors is all about making those interactions work, making it work on a global and digital basis, even if it is building roads out of plastic in Delhi, or it's reducing pollution by using rubbish and turning that into electricity. The technology can be deployed locally. And the great news with that is it can generate revenue and business for the economy and for enterprises locally, and it generates employment, and it raises everybody's quality of living.
Yes, Mike. And one particular question which is running in my mind with respect to the Indian businesses here. Let's say if there are tech companies here in India looking for tech partners in other countries, how ScaleUpArena, I mean, you can go step by step, what is the first step? so that our viewers knows exactly how ScaleUpArena is different from other forums that they have to go through.
Yep.
And one thing I understand is that if I join ScaleUpArena, you can actually reach a lot of people in one shot. I mean, one thing is very clear: you can reach people in UK, Africa, Japan, China, everywhere. So I
Yep.
think, but I would like to hear from you step by step what happens so that people
Okay.
can.
Yep. So if you're an Indian company wanting to reach the global markets, the first thing you could do is come along to a session that we run once a week called a Why Join, and we take people through what's it all about, how can you optimize it, why is it there, what's the philosophy behind it, and then we encourage people to come on board to sign up, and we've got a special offer for people who are coming through Akumak. If they want to, if there are SMEs that want to join or interested in joining ScaleUpArena, we run a Why Join ScaleUpArena session. And then if they sign up, we will give them a 20% discount on the usual engagement fee if they mention Akumak and they come via the Akumak route. So that is a great opportunity for them to then get part of the ecosystem, become part of the online meetings, the online mechanisms for sharing blogs, creating courses, creating product service entries, sharing those out through the social media channels. Who knows, even maybe coming back onto Akumak and saying, find our entry on ScaleUpArena, which is the great opportunity, of course, to broadcast that not just into India, but into Africa, America, all the different places, the Middle East, Australia, UK, and Europe as well. So it's a great opportunity for SMEs to do that. The other area that we can really help organizations is for the multinationals, the larger organizations who are looking for ways to differentiate moving forward in the future. We're on the homepage of ScaleUpArena.com. There is find a solution for your multinational. So if you are there and you're thinking, we need to improve the way we service our customers, the way we do our manufacturing, the way we do our artificial intelligence or our client loyalty programs or our cybersecurity or our payment management, go in there and free of charge, you can click, enter a little summary as to what you're looking for. And we will then matchmake that with the innovators and the advisors and the experts that we have at the back and try and bring together a solution. Costs nothing. We've got a network of people with, let's say, 10,000 years worth of expertise and experience in business. That's a lot of hours. So we've got that resource free of charge to help the SMEs and the multinationals, the large organizations, to optimize the future, the post-COVID world.
Absolutely. This is so interesting because as we move towards the gig economy, even the big brains behind the data and machine learning will be available through ScaleUpArena to large organizations. So
yeah. I think with the gig economy as well, what we're looking at is we're looking at the ability to optimize the expertise of people on a more affordable and realizable basis, geared to results, because you don't need somebody full-time. You could take somebody on a project basis or a time size basis to utilize their expertise in that particular challenge. And then you can have somebody else to help you with the next one, be it strategy, be it marketing, be it finance, be it funds. So you can bring that blend together, a bit like an a la carte menu of services, depending on what you actually need for your business at that time. The other area I think is really important that we haven't talked about in this post-COVID situation is we need to recognize the potential of the emerge up companies, not the startups, who, we all know what a startup is. They've got a very, they go to the bank, they have a long conversation. I'm planning to do this business. And the bank manager gets you to sign a piece of paper and then says, I'll send you a debit card and you can start your business with us. Then there's the scale-ups, which have 3 years of 20% year-on-year growth and 10 employees at the start of the process. So they're a well-defined group. But in the gap, mind the gap, as they used to say on the London Tube, okay, underground, mind the gap, because the gap is where the energy is. The scale-ups make up 60, 70% of all the revenue from SMEs, okay, so they're important. But the ones that are going to be the next scale-ups, generate the most jobs, generate the most revenue, profit, tax returns, are going to be the emerge-ups. And they are typically characterized by a shortage. They're short of the working capital they need. They're short of the time to deploy as many clients as they could. They're short of resource to go into international markets. They're short maybe of expertise in a particular field because they can't afford to take someone full time. That is the market which we have to support. So we've got to energize those emerge ups. And I think in this post-COVID bounce back better environment, we have to recognize that they previously have been largely unsupported. And we need to support those emerge ups as we move forwards, because in 3 years' time, there'll be the scale ups.
So I think this is an amazing story. The ScaleUpArena provides a lot of synergy for SMEs as well as enterprises world over to come together and work together across the level. I think it's an amazing story, and it's an amazing platform. So the good news for AkulMac viewers is that if you use AkulMac as a promo code, you will get 20% discount. So I urge you to explore scaleup.com and leverage their presence, global presence, find clients, find merger opportunities, merge up basically with other SMEs, and also funding probably. So I think the possibilities are immense. So with this,
they are indeed.
Yes, absolutely, Mike. I think I'm quite excited, and viewers of this program must leverage this excellent offer. And, I think this is one of the very good method of bouncing back with economy.
Fantastic. Absolutely. I mean, to reach out to us with that code, all you need to do is go to contact us on the homepage of ScaleUpArena.com, or you could just send an email to info@ScaleUpArena.com. And if I get flooded out with requests from India and Asia Pacific, fantastic. And we'll look forward to hearing from them.
Absolutely, Mike. And once again, wish you many happy returns. And it was a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
You found time to talk to us today with this very important subject, even though it's supposed to be your off day. So thank you so much. And we will catch up in the next edition with you next week.
Look forward to it, Chandra. Have a great day and a pleasure to talk to you as always.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Hello, welcome to AkulMac Live. I am Kanchan Varma and you are welcome to our series of great rishis and great saints of India. And today I will be talking about Maharishi Bhrigu. This video is sponsored by Performance Works International. More about them after some time. Maharshi Bhrigu's contribution is profound and very unique. He stands out when we talk about other saints and rishis of the world. Maharishi Bhrigu is one of the 7 great sages of Saptarishi, and Saptarishi means highly ranked priest or celestial intellectual beings of Vedic and Hindu religion. Maharishi Bhrigu is first compiler of productive astrology and also author of Bhrigu Samhita, the astrological classical book. According to Manu Smriti, Bhrigu lived during the time of Manu. Now, let me tell you a little about Manu Smriti. Manu Smriti is believed to be the first ancient legal text and constitution among the many Dharma Shastra of Hinduism. In ancient India, often sages used to write, put down their ideas and how the society should run on the manuscripts. It was one of the first Sanskrit texts to be translated into English in 1776 by British philologist Sir William Jones and was used to construct Hindu laws to the advantage of British colonial government. Now, coming back to the effect of Manu's scripts is vast, because the fame of this text is not only limited to India, but it also has effect in the Buddhistic law of Myanmar and Thailand. Also ascribed to Manu, the text also influenced the past Hindu kingdoms of Cambodia and Indonesia. And going forward, I would also want to tell you a little about Manu. Manu means the first man of humanity, the one who rules when the universe is born anew. The current universe is asserted to be ruled by 7th Manu named Vevavasta. Vevavasta was the king before the great flood occurred. And he was warned by the incarnation of Vishnu and built a boat that carried the Vedas and Manu's families and 7 sages to safety. And this tale is also interpreted in many other texts like Mahabharata and other Puranas. I think you will find Manu's story similar to the story of Noah and his ark. Maharishi Bhrigu was married to Khyati, one of the 9 daughters of sage Kardama. She is more popularly known as daughter of Prajapati Daksh. She is mother of goddess Lakshmi. And Maharishi Bhrigu also had many popular and very good sons. And to name a few is Dhata Vidata. He had one more famous son which is better known than Bhrigu himself, Shukracharya, who was a learned sage and guru of Asur. Asur means demon. And he trained all demons during that era. The sage is also father of Chavanya, who is known for his medicine skill and his rejuvenation through special herbal paste known as Chavan Prash, which was later on prescribed and prepared by Ashwani Kumar, the god of medicine. Bhrigu's another son, Marikonda, is a folklore hero. Marikanda is considered as the founder of weaving, and as a result, God's gratitude was granted 2 boons, a tiger and a giant. The giant disobeyed Manikunda's order and was slain, but tiger obeyed, and so he lived. According to modern weaver caste, there's a folklore that if tiger is encountered in the jungle, it is enough only to speak name of Mrikanda. Mrikanda's name is enough to prevent being attacked. Mrikanda is still seen as a watchful and protective figure in mythology history. All Bhrigu's sons and his lineage has a unique place in history, and their contribution to mankind cannot be ignored. And even famous warrior rishi like sage Parashuram also has a place in Bhrigu's family tree. Maharishi Bhrigu has first compiled the predictive astrology. He compiled around 500,000 horoscope and recorded the life details and events of various persons. This formed a database for further research and study. The study culminated in the birth of science of determining the quality of the time, and Hora, which deals with the finer point of predictive method. The horoscope were based upon the planetary position of Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Rahu. Rahu means north node of moon, and Ketu, south node of moon. After Maharshi Bhrigu gave his prediction on different types of horoscope compiled by him, with the help of God Ganesha, who is god of intellectual and fortune, in the brief and concise manner. The total possible horoscope chart that can be drawn with this compilation is about 45 million. So if we search any instance of data compilation, then Maharshi Bhrigu's name cannot be ignored. And that too he has done such a long time ago. He compiled around 500,000 horoscope, recorded the life details and event of various persons. That means collect, organize, report, interpret data, and then find probabilities and finding the mean in the data. So that means if we apply a handling calculation formula, so that means mean is equal to sum of observation upon number of observations. So, and that too of individualistically, and that is a great contribution of Maharishi Bhrigu to the mankind. Maharshi taught this art to his famous son Shukracharya. Currently, a part of Bhrigu Samhita is available at Hoshiarpur, Sultanpur district of current Indian Punjab state and Varanasi state of current Indian Uttar Pradesh state. Many people have found their horoscope in this part of the world. Maharshi Bhrigu is also credited with the knowledge of Sanjeevani Vidya, which is knowledge that raised the dead back to the life, and later this knowledge is officially conferred to Shukracharya, son of Bhrigu, which he used time to time and brought back his disciple demons back to life. Maharshi's contribution is larger than life and cannot be described in words, and it's a great contribution to mankind. So Akulmak salutes Maharshi Bhrigu. Before I end this video, I would like to extend a big thanks to Performance Works International for sponsoring this video. Here's a message from them.
This video is sponsored by Performance Works International.
Are you ready for the challenges facing the modern workplace? Recent events have taught us the importance of transformation. Businesses now face a perfect storm of challenges. No business is too big to fail, and many are too slow to succeed. Our workforce is changing fast. We're entering a new age of empowerment, and everyone can contribute. The Inner CEO reveals how we can all play a part in making leading at all levels a reality. Written by Jeremy Blaine, an expert on business transformation and growth, it provides a roadmap to help everyone unleash their inner CEO and contribute beyond their job role, whatever their level. Traditionally, strategy has been owned by the few. Now it's time for the many to contribute. Leadership must come from a broader base. Everyone has the potential to step up and make things happen. It's a new model of collective and collaborative leadership which unleashes the power of people, enabled by appropriate technology and a supportive management structure. The book provides a roadmap for a bold new age of empowerment. Supported by a range of resources, the book provides a toolkit to help anyone unleash their inner CEO. Organisation health, development and growth is owned at all levels. Are you ready to unleash the inner CEO?
Hello friends, welcome to AkulMac Live and I am Chandrakant. Recently, there has been a very interesting development in the courtroom of India where one of the popular celebrity filed a case which is very technical in nature. It involves telecom technologies like 5G, etc. So we will discuss this matter today with our legal expert. Before we start our discussion, I must tell you that there is a giveaway. Please stick around in this analysis till the end, because in the end we will tell you how you can get your free gift. Welcome back, friends. And in the legal matters today, we have a very interesting and hilarious subject to discuss. It could be interesting for some, it could be hilarious. And to discuss this matter, which involved a Bollywood famous actress and a high-profile telecom case, we invite our guest from Ahmedabad, Mr. Jeet Bhatt, and we will discuss this matter further.
Hello, Chandrakant. Thank you for having me on your show on legal matters. And yes, today we are going to discuss this judgment delivered by the Delhi High Court in the matter preferred by a celebrity, Juhi Chawla, with regards to the 5G radiation and wireless networks, which she claims to be to having radiations, which would create problem in public health and public welfare. And what the Delhi High Court did with her suit and how it dismissed it. So that is what we are going to discuss today.
Excellent, Jeet. In fact, I don't even know what was this case all about and how come a Bollywood actress got involved in technical matters like 5G. And to best of my knowledge, 5G is not yet launched in India. It is a technology which is much debated globally. So, like to know from you, what really happened and why this court went to the, the case went to the court, and a Bollywood heroine got involved in this one.
Yes, Chandrakant. So, in fact, yes, as you said, internationally, this is a controversial subject. And as you must be aware that today mobile use has become so synonymous with our day-to-day life, and approximately around 6.5 to 6.9 billion people are using this technology of mobile wireless phones globally. And mobile phones do have an electromagnetic fields which are produced and by the mobile's handset. And though its radiation are not so much that it would create any public health or issues, and therefore the International Agency for Research on Cancer has provided that it is safe to use handset, though it suggests that it should be the user should be very careful, because it has carcinogens and it can create problems for day-to-day users over a long period of time. So therefore, despite it saying that it is safe to use, but it also issues a rider saying that users have to be careful. But now, what is 5G and why this issue came up before the Delhi High Court is because, yes, you are right, India has not rolled out 5G network yet, but it is planning to do that soon by the end of this year or by the early next year. And 5G is a fifth generation latest wireless mobile technology and is expected to increase the performance and a wide range of new applications in the mobile handset. And it is said that it will increase to tenfold the speed in data transmission compared to the current 4G networks. So it will be using a higher transmission frequency. And therefore, there might be some radiation which would result into using of this 5G network. And therefore, there are a lot of apprehensions because till date, there is no conclusive research which says that it is completely safe to use 5G network. But what it does is, in fact, what is suggested in the research which has been done till date is that to increase this performance, 5G is going to use higher frequencies around 3.5 gigahertz up to around 30 to 40 gigahertz. So this higher frequency is new to mobile phone networks. And therefore, it requires proper research before rolling out this 5G network. So therefore, WHO and a lot of other international agencies are doing their research, but WHO also provides that it will come out with its conclusive results by early 2022. So therefore, even WHO, that is World Health Organization, has not given its finding on whether the use of 5G technology is safe with respect to the day-to-day use in mobile handsets. So therefore, there are some potential health risks which need to be properly investigated, and ultimately with proper finding, the 5G network should be rolled out. And this is exactly what Juhi Chawla in the petition, in the suit filed before the Delhi High Court said, that before rolling out 5G network, there should be proper research carried out. And she said that no one in Earth will be able to avoid exposure to levels of radio frequency radiation, which will be 10 to 100 times greater than what exists today. So this was her anxiety based on some research papers that she had produced before the Delhi High Court. And she said that 5G plans threaten to provoke serious irreversible effects on humans and permanent damage to all of the Earth's ecosystem. So therefore, she brought a class action lawsuit filed before the Delhi High Court against the implementation of the 5G network in the country. And they sought the stay against, or an injunction against, the rolling out of 5G till the pendency of this suit. Now, with respect to her claim, in fact, even interesting international scenario which the court overlooked, because even the European Parliamentary Research Service says that some research papers suggest that there are health risks with regards to the rollout of 5G network in the world. Also, there have been lawsuits which have been filed in California with regards to the rolling out of 5G and with regards to deferring it for a period, a couple of years before actually rolling out. Also, a number of countries like Australia, Italy, Ireland, Switzerland have adopted a more cautious approach and have halted the rollout, citing the ambiguity of the current scientific picture and inconsistency of guidance between supranational bodies and private bodies. So therefore, certainly there is an international scenario which says that precautionary measures have to be taken. And there are lawsuits which have been pending in California and other countries. Also, Italy has also issued some advices against the rollout of 5G in some suits which have been filed in Italy. So therefore, there is international pressure or some research which suggests that there should be some caution before rolling out this 5G network. So Juhi Chawla, along with two other plaintiffs, filed this suit before the Delhi High Court on a representative capacity, saying that there is a health and public welfare problem by rolling out this sort of a technology. And therefore, unless proper research is carried out and unless conclusive proof is available that the use of 5G network is completely safe, only then can the 5G network should be rolled out in India. So this was basically the crux of her suit. But the court, when the hearing was to take place, and what happened on that day is that she had put the link of the video conferencing on her social media platform, and due to which a lot of people could enter into the courtroom to witness the proceedings. And unfortunately, one of her fans started singing songs of Juhi Chawla's movies. And this certainly disturbed the proceedings of the court. And the court was again and again trying to switch out this fan of Juhi Chawla, but he used to again log in using different IDs. So even if he was logged out from the video conferencing facility, he again used to log in from some different IDs. And he continuously tried to create a nuisance sort of a environment in the court by singing songs. And this is certainly not acceptable. Because this does undermine the prestige and dignity of the court. And therefore, the court issued a suo motu contempt notice against the person who was using this platform.
So, Jeet, I would like to share my thoughts on this subject from the technical standpoint, not from the legal standpoint. 5G actually brings earth-shattering technology to the consumer. And as you rightly said, it is at least 10 to 20 times faster than 4G. And on 4G, you are getting a speed of 150 Mbps, which is sufficient for running any TV programs or anything like that. But with 5G coming, which is 20 times faster or 15 times faster than the current technology, then you will be able to run 4K videos. That means at least very high quality and also artificial intelligence based content on your network. And this technology has been developed by Huawei, which is a Chinese company. And the state of affairs between other countries and China right now, and that is why Huawei has not been allowed to start 5G network, and that is really the moot point. And they are having trouble everywhere in UK, in US, and in Australia. And they already had contracts to roll out 5G in UK and US, and the government have cancelled those contracts. So what is happening right now is that India said, especially Reliance, that they will develop their own 5G network, and so we are all waiting for their 5G. And now the 5G, the basic difference between 5G and 4G is that from the wireless standpoint, 5G basically narrows the beam and beams it in the line of sight into your house. So the problem there is that since it is going to narrow down the beam, and it's like a laser beam consisting of radio waves coming to your house, that means there will be no cable required, and a beam will come to your house from the tower to your house. So it will be much faster. There will be no cable in between. So I think that is really the point. And if you there is no conclusive evidence that this radiation is going to harm the humans or animals or birds or any life, because it has been proven by scientific standards that the amount of radiation 5G produces is 100 times less than the cosmic energy which hits us every second, every moment. So it is completely safe. I think it's more political, and also there are alternative technologies available. So with this technical background, I pass the baton on to you so that you can talk about why Juhi Chawla got involved in such a technical matter and such a political matter which is of a global standard.
Yes, Chandrakant. So you explained it, the technical issue with regards to the 5G network. But with respect to this suit, in fact, this suit did raise some important questions which could have been decided by the Delhi High Court. Because as I mentioned that till date, there is no conclusive research. So, and plus also some research suggests that there is going to be 10 to 100 times more radiation with regards to this technology. So certainly some effect, because every radiation will have some effects on the human body. And with a phone which is so ubiquitous with our daily life, that 7 billion people using it every day and 7 billion having a handset, certainly it is of some risk in the hands of general people. So with regards to health safety, this was a very important issue which was raised by Juhi Chawla, though she's a celebrity. And the court pointed out that she filed a suit in order to gain publicity. But that also, I would not completely agree, with greatest respect to the Delhi High Court judge who decided this. Because she's already so popular, and she's such a popular actress. She has such a big fan following. She's also the owner of Kolkata Knight Riders, the IPL team, along with Shah Rukh Khan. So I don't think that the only purpose was to gain publicity out of this suit. In fact, if she really believed that there is some issue with regards to rolling out of 5G, and due to this anxiety, if she wanted the court to decide on this issue, I think as a responsible citizen, she had the right to file a suit and bring this class action before the knowledge of the court. And then the court, based on the evidence, could have decided what is the further course and what is the best option available to the plaintiffs, as well as what is the best course of action for the government to do with regards to the rollout of 5G. But the court, on the contrary, at the threshold, threw the suit completely without entertaining or without even entering into the merits, only on the grounds of technicalities. Now, also another issue that I wanted to raise is that certainly this was a class action and sort of a public interest litigation. So even the High Courts and Supreme Court since 70s, 80s have relaxed the procedure with regards to public interest or social action or class action litigation. And they have done away with a lot of procedures which was otherwise required. In fact, in 80s, the Supreme Court have also accepted letters written from jail also as petitions, and have taken action and rectified the errors which have been committed, and have passed several far-reaching judgments and orders which have done tremendous good to the society. So therefore, in fact, even with regards to environmental issues, the Supreme Court has taken up so many issues. So she had a point. She had raised some important questions, which I think the court has, in extreme technical manner, decided the suit and dismissed it. And on the contrary, has also held that this was a publicity stunt, and this was done in order to abuse the process of law, and also imposed a cost of rupees 20 lakhs on the actress for filing a suit. So I think this is a little harsh on the actress, and also the important point which was there in the suit remained undecided. So I think the court, rather than entering into such technicality, should have at least considered the issues which she had raised before the court.
Well, Jeet, from my point of view, I think there are two things that has happened. I think we need to recognize role of the lobby here. There is always a lobby. There could be a lobby at work which is acting on the behest of 5G operator, and we know that 5G operator is Huawei. There could be an anti-lobby, because in the end it may turn out that 5G has no harmful effect. As you mentioned that there is no conclusive evidence. So it may turn out that Huawei has done a groundbreaking work, and just because the countries have issues with country like China, so they don't want Huawei to, they don't want to accept this fact that an Asian country can come out with such a groundbreaking technology, because we are the people who came out with the mobile phones and all that. So how come Chinese came out with such a groundbreaking technology? So there could be anti-5G lobby also at play. And there is a third lobby which is promoting alternate technology. So things like Starlink from Elon Musk. So once Starlink comes, there'll be no need for high-speed network. So I think whole lot of equations are being, permutation combinations are being played at. And to my surprise, as a common citizen of India, that even though it's a public litigation and a class action suit, which anybody can file, whether you are a famous celebrity or a common man, a class action can be filed by anyone. So I fully agree with you that at least court should have done some hearing to it. But I think can Juhi Chawla approach the court again? But I think, and also I think that the misconduct was entirely done by the fan which joined the video conferencing. So I think that person is not penalized. So I think we need to identify and tell a spade that she was a person who was doing the right thing, and some miscreant actually got into the call and spoiled the whole thing. Don't you think so?
Yes, Chandrakant. In fact, maybe the conduct of the fan did irk the court to such an extent that he dismissed the petition, because he also mentions the reason for publicity, that is that Juhi Chawla published the link of the court on her social media. But in fact, in India, we have under the common law, we have an open court system, and anybody who wants to visit the court can visit the court and also watch the proceedings, because every proceeding is in an open court. So what Juhi Chawla did was that she published the link, but if it was a physical court, anybody could have come and heard the proceedings going on. And therefore, if it is a virtual platform, and if somebody wants to enter the link and enter the court and visit the hearing, but if only requirement is that they should not disturb the proceedings. And certainly, even in physical courts, you cannot disturb the proceedings. But if anybody wants to enter the courtroom and watch the proceedings, I don't think that should have been an objectionable act. Only thing objectionable was that he was disturbing the course of law, and for that some measures should be taken. And I think the Honorable High Court Judge has correctly issued the contempt notice, and the contempt proceedings will initiate, and ultimately, if the right person is found, he will be punished. But with respect to that incident, the entire suit should not have been dismissed on that ground. And now, yes, Juhi Chawla can challenge, but she'll have to file an appeal before the Supreme Court challenging the judgment of the Delhi High Court.
All right, so I think we will keep visiting this story because still evolving, and 5G is not yet implemented. 5G technology is only available with Huawei, and at least in India, Reliance said that they will develop it by end of December, so they must be working on it. And Starlink is already there, which is an alternative, and it's not 5G, it's not harmful, it is coming from the space. So Jeet, thank you so much for clarifying this case to us. We will keep visiting this story as it evolves. We have some unique AkulMac memorabilia which will make you look outstanding. The graphics on these corporate gifts are based on the global best business practices. To become recipient of one of these gifts for free, you have to watch this video till the end and provide your valuable comments. Or you can also share your experiences. The person who makes the best comment would be chosen to become a recipient of these beautiful AkulMac gift, absolutely free, delivered to your doorsteps. The winner would also get a chance to be invited live as a distinguished panelist during our next video. What are you waiting for, friends? Please subscribe AkulMac and smash that like button.
Hello friends, I am Kanchan from AkulMac Technologies and you are welcome to our series Great Kings of India. And today we are discussing one of the wonderful king, Lalita Ditya. He is the most powerful king of ruler of Kolkata dynasty. And it is said that in few chronicles that he is a world conqueror. And his empire included not only Indian parts but also Afghanistan and Central Asia. To discuss more about this wonderful king, we have reputed historian, Ms. Meera Joshi, who is the head of the department of one of the prestigious college, St. Anne's College in Hyderabad. Welcome to the show, Meeta ji.
Namaskar, Kanchan. How are you?
I am fine. How are you?
I'm also good.
Yes. And today we are discussing a wonderful profile of great King Lalitadit. And I just want to share one thing. I happened to visit his Avantipur in Kashmir. And since that, I'm mesmerized the kind of structure I've seen there. So I would like to listen more about this wonderful ruler of India.
See, Lalita Ditya belonged to the Karkota dynasty of Kashmir. And it is also said that this Karkota dynasty evolved from the mythical Naga dynasty. Okay. And he was termed as a world conqueror by one of the writers of Kashmir, Kalhana. So Kalhana wrote one account known as Raj Tarangini, in which he describes Lalitaditya as a word conqueror. And to tell you, Kanchan, the meaning of Raj Tarangini is rulers of the river. Okay, rulers of the river. So, uh, Kalhana has explained his reign as such that he was ruling all the extents of the rivers of India, not only in India, Afghanistan, Central Asia also. And if you view the historical accounts, not only in Kalhana's Raj Tarangini, we get the mention of Lalitaditya in the book of Tang Dynasty of China. So that means he had relations with China also that time. Some historical accounts they put up that one of his ministers, Count Kun, was of Chinese origin. So that means he had, extent till China. And if we see his time period, it is from 724 to 760 CE. Okay. Why he is termed as a world conqueror is that he was the king who not only stopped the Arabian and Turkish invasions in India, but also established his empire in most major parts of India, Afghanistan, and the Central Asia. He is also termed as the Alexander of India. So why? Because Alexander also boasted to be a world conqueror. So same way, the Kashmiri author Kalhana, he wrote about him that he was a world conqueror. Not only a world conqueror, a person who built the empire, who developed all the areas of art, architecture, and he was a great builder. Apart from a military general, he was a great builder. Why he is termed as a world conqueror? Because first of all, he defeated a very famous king, Yashovarman of Kannauj. Right. And finally, Yashovarman, submitted to him, and not only Yashovarman but other rulers that time, they all accepted his suzerainty. And why he is, praised in all the records is because he was the one who stopped all the foreign invasions. That time, all the Arabian, the Turkish invasions which were happening in India, and the time period in which he ruled. He ruled for around 37 years. So that time period in which he ruled, they are free of foreign invasions. Otherwise, before that, you find lot of foreign invasions happening. Because 326, you get Alexander coming to India, and many other, Arabian and Turkish invaders also. Right. But his rule, that almost 37 years he ruled, that was free of invasions. Okay. That means his army was very strong, his empire was, huge, and he was a good administrator because he was able to manage this huge empire sitting at Srinagar, because Srinagar was the traditional capital, but he developed his new capital that was known as Parihaspur. Okay. Still it is there, Parihaspur. Parihaspur means a smiling place. Okay. So he developed his capital there, and he controlled the entire India, Central Asia, and Afghanistan from there. Okay. Not only in terms of his military conquests, he is also known in history because of his, love for temples. So many temples he built. Yes. And one of the temples, which is 3 miles away from Anantnag in Kashmir, right. It is the Sun Martand Temple. It is the Sun Temple. Yes. We only get the ruins now because it was ruined by one Islamic invader. He ordered rather to destroy the temple. So this Sun Mata temple has a huge temple in between, surrounded by 84 smaller shrines. So, and very beautiful architecture. Very beautiful architecture. And not only this Sun Martin temple, he built temples of Shiva, Vishnu, all deities. He built the temples, but unfortunately, the invaders who came, they destroyed all the beautiful architecture which was left by Lalita Ditya. Not only this, because that time, there was scarcity of water probably because of, as we know, Kashmir is very, very cold. So he built many bunds. Bunds means small water bodies for the purpose of irrigation, and canals which he got built from the rivers, canals for the irrigational purposes. So not only we can remember him as a military general, but a builder who has who left a good legacy. But unfortunately, as I said, the invaders, the Islamic invaders, they ruined it. They rather gave orders to ruin it, so, which is very, very unfortunate. And see, it has not only happened in Kashmir in the reign of Lalita Ditya, but if you move down to Gujarat, Mahmud Ghazni, he attacked Somnath temple many times. Why? Because it was a very rich temple. Very rich temple. So, to tell you the fact, Ghazni, he invaded India 17 times. From 1000 to 1017 AD. So not only in Kashmir, so many places these invasions has happened, which have, destroyed our heritage, because all these temples, monuments, they come under heritage, and they tell us about the history. So much of destruction was done in the previous years, in the past, and now I will divert from the topic, Kanchan. Now, when I'm not talking as an individual, I'm talking as a common person. Now, when we want to undo that which has happened, so lot of communal questions, they come up. Many communal questions, they sprung up.
Yes, actually, we don't realize this is a part of our heritage and we should be proud of it. As I told you, when I visited Avantipuram, it was so mesmerizing because even the ruins, the architecture on the pillars and the stones which I've seen that point of time, which were really very artistic. And you really feel and you have that kind of greatness when you touch any of these stones, and it is spread on a vast area. And that, unfortunately, it is all in a stone, ruined.
You are getting the ruins.
Right.
And just imagine if we had the original temple, how grand, how beautiful it would be.
Right.
Main temple surrounded by 84 small shrines.
Right.
And it was the temple of sun god, because Martand is another name of sun. So not only for the sun, but he built temples for Shiva, Vishnu, and other Hindu deities. And why Lalita Ditya is also praised in the pages of history, as I told you, not only for his military conquests, but for the work which he did for his subjects, for the public, because he cared for the public. He built those water bodies, bunds, canals for irrigation. And not only that, we in Kalhana's Raj Tarangini, we get account that the statues which were built, they were huge, and maybe that was exaggerated also, because seeing the time period, you feel little confused at how they were able to erect so huge statues of gods and goddesses. But Kalhana's Raj Tarangini, which was written in the 12th century CE, gives us a very detailed account about his reign, about Lalitaditya's reign. Though he, see, now if you do a comparison, because some people, they compare Lalitaditya as a word conqueror, and they also compare him with Alexander, because they say he was the Alexander of India. But one unique thing about him was he was not into brutal killing, which Alexander did. So that difference we have to understand. He was not. He just when he went for conquests, there was always this option given to the king, that if it is your wish that you submit to us, or you have a battle or fight. So that way, treaties were also done, and many agreements were made. So it was not all that brutality. So when we compare him with Alexander, it is good, because as the history portrays Alexander as a great king, Alexander the Great. So we should also call Lalitaditya the Great. But unfortunately, Kanchan, mention of Lalitaditya is not in our history books, which is very, very sad.
Yes, very sad. And any who doesn't,
why our children are deprived of the heritage and the great times which our kings had in India.
Right.
So this is little unfortunate, actually.
Yes, really very unfortunate, because any king who has ruled such a vast empire, and for so many years, he should be, and without benevolent or without caring of subject, no king can rule in such a vast area and such a long time. And of course, Lalita, that has to be taught in school, and of course in colleges also, because he is a part of our rich heritage, and he was a great king.
And even Al-Biruni, even in Al-Biruni's accounts, he is mentioned, because his name was Lalitaditya Mukta Pida. Okay. So Al-Biruni mentions Muttai, which is an upbranch of Mukta Pida.
Okay.
Tang dynasty of China, they mention his name. Okay. So that means he was known far and wide.
Okay.
His glory was far and wide.
Yes.
So, but unfortunate that foreigners knew about him, but now our generation, they don't know about the great kings. And I should be thankful to you, Kanchan, because at least you have taken up this task of exploring the great kings of India. So at least through this series, we will be able to tell our students, the common public, about the great kings which existed.
Yes,
who were really great.
Yes, and actually, it is something which really makes us proud. Which should make us proud that we belong to such a great country, that we have so great people like Lalitaditya, or like maybe Harshvardhan, maybe Ashoka, Chandragupta. So, and then we should have pride in this aspect of our culture and traditions.
Yes, and see why India was known as Sone ki Chidiya that time, because of the prosperity.
Right.
And it was this wealth and prosperity only which lured the foreign invaders to come to India. Alexander, Gori, Ghazni, they all came to invade the wealth.
Right.
So, and how India was so much wealthy and prosperous because of the rulers, because of their policies, because of their administration. Because see, if a head of the family is not good, you cannot expect a good family. Same way, if the ruler is not good, you cannot expect a flourishing country. So that means our kings were great.
Right.
Who were glorified even in our Puranas, Vedas, all the ancient texts. They sing the glory of our kings.
Yeah.
So we should be proud of that heritage.
Yeah.
As Indians, we should be proud of our culture, of our heritage, of our history, which is really magical, mesmerizing, beautiful.
Definitely. It was so wonderful to talk to you, Mitaji, today and discuss one of the greatest King Lalitaditya. We'll be discussing more about his period in our other series. Till then, bye.
We will cover about his military conquests in detail.
Yes, we'll be discussing military conquests in detail in our next series. So till then, bye-bye. Take care.
Thank you.
Hello friends, welcome to AkulMech Live. I am Kanchan Varma, and today in this episode we are discussing about the street food available in Delhi. The street food tradition has a long history. It is said that it was originated in Roman Empire, and since then this tradition is being followed by human race till today, and I think it will be there in future also. We have in this episode a very interesting personality who will be discussing about the items, the taste, the joints in Delhi where you can find an item of your choice. So stick around to this episode till the end. You will find this episode very interesting. Welcome back, and today we have a very interesting personality, Ritu Gupta, who is a very good cook, and she generally, I have heard from many people that she make fusion food, and she knows what chemical to be integrated and what chemical will give a nicer taste for our taste buds. So we'll be discussing something very interesting today, and let's go to Ritu and ask what she is offering to our viewers today. So welcome to the show, Ritu. How are you doing today?
I'm absolutely fine. Thank you, Kanchan. And I feel so great to talk about food because I think food is there in my, when I breathe, it is food, and food makes me happy, and food, it really makes me feel great also when I have to cook for other people. So it's a very interesting topic that we are picking up today. And when I talk about food, I only talk about street food of Delhi.
Well, it will be very interesting to talk to you regarding street food of Delhi because Delhi being a capital, and I am sure that Delhi offers lot of combination of cuisine across India. I think we can get any type of food in Delhi. So tell us more about this street food of Delhi.
So, what you said is right, that we can get for any kind of food, whether it's from any state of India or whether it's international food like Mexican and Italian and we have the Greek food also, which is available in Delhi as per the pocket of people. It's very pocket friendly. So when we talk about Delhi food, most of us, we talk about Delhi chaat, which is, golgappas and tikkis and bhalla papdi. But now the younger generation has gone one step ahead. They are, everywhere in Delhi you may find the northeastern food, which is like momos and chow mein and, the clear soup, which is also part of street food. And when we talk about international food, I see close to my house also many kiosks serving, pastas and pizzas and various other things which are international food. So when you talk about Delhi food has crossed the boundaries. It has crossed the boundaries. It's gone outside India also. But everything is pocket friendly and it's street food because the, let's say the ingredients which is used is a very local ingredients. Local ingredients are used to make the international food.
While talking to you, I remember when I was in college in Delhi and we used to visit Central Secretariat, and there were a lot of very good joints, and we as friend circle, we used to eat there and then used to come back to home. And I also remember one place which is in front of Hindustan Times office, which a person who used to offer fruit chaat, and it was awesome. I have not tasted anywhere else in India till now. So definitely. So any street food which you like and you feel that this all street food is has to be given a weightage, or people should compliment it or popularize that person or that kiosk?
Okay, so I would really like to mention three people. And first is, I think he's very popular, Anna. Anna, you will find him very close to Parliament House on the Jantar Mantar street, and he will be serving only South Indian food. Right from 6 o'clock in the morning to 11 in the night, you will find all kind of South Indian food with him. And he's very hygienic, and he serves food in a very hygienic manner, and his food is very popular and very clean food. Number two, I want to mention, I'm sure you know about Bharati Vidya Bhavan. So there on the roundabout of Bharati Vidya Bhavan, there is a joint, and that person serves all kind of shakes, tea, coffee, and Maggie and the chaat papdi. But that person is so popular, it's because his contact, about his memory of each person visiting his store. So he has made a kind of relationship with each person. So when I go, he knows that I don't like taking sugar in my tea or coffee. So he gives me that special privilege that I don't have to remind him. Now the third one I want to mention about is, if you know Sri Ram Center, just outside the main gate of Sri Ram Center, there is one snack guy, BM Snacks, and he's very popular only for bread pakoras, samosas, and tea and coffee. It's available throughout the day. So I see people sitting there talking and sipping their tea and coffee and just munching on bread pakoras and samosas. But the relationship which they make there, the licensing which they do, because they are all in theaters, they want to act in more and more plays. So this place has a very special aroma, a special place in the heart of every Delhiite.
Well, while mentioning all the dishes and definitely the ambience, because I know these places very well and I really feel like just going there right now actually. But then we are inside the house and we are following social distancing. So when you are talking all this, so I really tempting really to go out and visit these places. So I would like to know how you can differentiate street food from a restaurant fruit or from a home fruit.
See, street food is very simple, and you are served food on the street. Only the stalls, the shacks, the kiosks are there on the roadside, and either you are standing or you are using the bonnet of your car, or perhaps there is just one high table and the food quality is good, but then the prices are not very high. When you visit a restaurant, there is a person, a steward waiting for you. He takes the order, you give the order, and then you have to tip the person, and the prices are exorbitantly high as compared to the street food. And obviously, the garnishing of the food is done in a very nice manner. What you get in the restaurant, there are extra garnishing, and you find various other touches, which is very good. I'm not saying street food is bad, but then you do not find that kind of garnishing. But when you are making food at home, perhaps it may not be very spicy. Perhaps it may not be up to the taste like what you get in street, but then you may give the same look also, because the ingredients, the spices used in the street food, they are very local and they are very raw. So the taste is different.
As for me is concerned, I feel that when we make food at home, so sometimes it depends on mood, because as everybody says that you have to be happy while cooking in food, but sometimes we are not happy. We are not happy and we cook food, and that kind of temperament or that feelings, generally people say, even the olden people of or in the Indian text, it's written that you have to be, as lady has to be very happy to go in the kitchen and cook, so that a very good taste come out. But when we talk about street food, the one thing which I personally appreciate is that whenever you go in that particular joint, you will find the same taste. No variation. So I think that is something which is very, very unique when we talk about street food. So which street food?
That's the secret. Yeah.
So which street food you like most?
Well, Kanchan, I'm feeling tempted now. I love to eat tikkis and chanas. I love golgappas. And I feel that having golgappas, standing on the street, something going in your mouth, something spilling out of your mouth, that's the fun, to eat golgappas standing on the street.
Yes, definitely, because these pani puri and tikkis, they are the traditional Indian spicy food, and we had been eating this generation from generation, and still appreciating this recipe and this item of food. So before I close, I just want to tell you that wonderful talking to you, because you see there's water in my mouth. I have to close this episode now, and we'll be meeting again next time with a very interesting episode. Till then, bye-bye.
Thank you, Kanchan. And I hope that you're going to eat something nice now.
Yeah, I'm planning to make it at home actually now.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Kanchan. Bye-bye.
Hello friends, I am Kanchan from Akulmak Technologies, and welcome to our series, The Great Kings of India. Today we are discussing a very interesting personality of our history, Chandragupta Maurya, who established Mauryan Empire and ruled a successful era at that point of time with the help of his teacher Chanakya. We can see the economic prosperity, reform, infrastructure, development during his era. And he is one of the greatest king of Indian subcontinent. So to discuss further about his personality, his administration, his army, we would like to invite the renowned historian, Professor Meeta Joshi, who is the head of the department of one of the prestigious college in Hyderabad, St. Anne's College for Women. So without wasting any moment, I would like to invite Professor Meeta Joshi. Meeta ji, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Namaskar, Kanchan. I'm
fine. Namaste, Meeta ji. I'm fine. What about you? How's weather? How's everything?
Everything is fine.
So today we are discussing about Chandragupta Maurya. So let's start to know more about this great king.
I would like to start from his early life because I think we will go step by step. So, about his birth, there are many theories, but nothing is confirmed that when he was born. But the Buddhist accounts and the Jain accounts, they say that his father was the head of the Maurya clan. So now this word Maurya comes from Mora in Pali, that means peacock, and in Sanskrit Mayura. So his father was the head of the Maurya clan, and when he got killed, her mother escaped from there and reached Patliputra. There are some accounts in which they say that he was Shudra by origin, because in one of the drama written by Vishaka Datta, Mudra Rakshasa, they refer to him as Vrisala. Vrisala means a Shudra, son of a Shudra. So again, there are many theories about it, but after his birth, he was raised by the people who were taking herds of cows for grazing. Now, when he grew up, he took his education in Takshila. Takshila was a very prestigious educational institution that time, and he happened to meet Chanakya. We call Chanakya as Kautilya. We called his original name was Vishnu Gupta, and Vishnu Gupta had a grudge on the Nanda king Dhanananda. So when Chandragupta Maurya met Chanakya, and then Chanakya took him as his disciple, and under his mentorship, under Chanakya's mentorship, Chandragupta Maurya learned the tricks of administration, the tricks of warfare, so many things Chanakya taught Chandragupta Maurya, and both of them, they built a large army, a huge army from various places of the region and from outside the region also, and finally they defeated the Nanda king, Dhanananda, and then Chandragupta Maurya established this kingdom, which is known as the Maurya kingdom.
So it was not. Is it a difficult for? I mean, that point of time. Was it a difficult for a person who's coming from a commoner or that to a background of Shudra?
He came from a very humble background. He came from a very humble background, and then, under the mentorship of Chanakya, he raised a large army, and then he defeated the Nanda king Dhanananda.
Yes, so my point is that people accepted at that point in time. There was no uprising against this commoner because generally bloodline goes on any throne. So what it was difficult for him to really become the head of the state at that point of time.
Not really, because there are in some Jain accounts and some Greek accounts, it is written that he may be the mother of Chandragupta Maurya. They say she was a concubine in the Nanda dynasty, and she was insulted by Dhanananda. That's why the mother also had the grudge upon Nanda dynasty. See, let's mention, when one rises to power, then whoever you are, the main thing here is power. Because he was powerful, he had a huge army, he had the backing of Chanakya. So after defeating the Nanda king Dhanananda, he established his own empire, the Maurya Empire, and the reign of time period of his empire is given from 321 to 297 BCE. Like his rule was for about 24 years.
Okay.
Now, he took all the principles of statecraft and he developed the infrastructure. He brought many reforms in the kingdom and became a very, very popular king. And some of the stories of the Jain accounts and the Buddha text Mahavamsa, it is mentioned that there are some like miraculous stories. At one point of time, there is a story that when he was in the forest and he was going to wage a war, that time a wild elephant came from somewhere and the wild elephant bowed down to Chandragupta Maurya, and then that elephant, in that elephant only, Chandragupta Maurya went for his conquests. So many stories like this, like a wild tiger, a wild lion, he also came and licked him. So many stories are there about him. But the point is that he tried to expand the boundaries of his empire by many wars and conquests. By many wars and conquests, and if you see his empire, it was from the northwestern India. Okay, most of the northwestern India up to down south, except some parts of Kerala, Tamil Nadu, and Odisha, because he also wanted Kalinga to be the Maurya Empire, but he could not do that. Neither him nor his son Bindusara, because Kalinga was a very powerful sovereign state that time. So he could not extend his boundaries up to Odisha and Kerala and Tamil Nadu. But it was a huge empire, very huge empire, which he administered with the help and guidance of Chanakya, because the principles of Arthashastra, which Chanakya wrote, he exercised them fully in his empire. And later, as I told you in the previous episodes, Ashoka also, Ashoka's administration was based on the principles of Arthashastra. Because Radhagupta, his minister, was the grandson of Chanakya, Vishnugupta's. So this way, Chanakya, he spread his knowledge, he imparted his knowledge, and they were able to build a huge empire. At one point of time, after Alexander's invasion in 324 BC, when actually Alexander came to India in 326 BC, and he retreated in 324 BC, and he left his Greek governors there in India. So the Greek and Roman accounts, they say that the Greek ambassador, Seleucus Nicator I, he was also like, instead of waging a war with him, he retreated and he gave his daughter in marriage alliance to Chandragupta Maurya. So that showed his power, his suzerainty. All the foreign accounts of that time, the Greek and Roman accounts, they mention Chandragupta indirectly. The name Chandragupta is not there, but his name is Sandrocotos or Androcotos in the ancient Greek and Latin accounts. Okay. Now, if you see his, as I told you, in his kingdom, there was a lot of economic prosperity, reforms, and he expanded the infrastructure in a very large way. And in the 7th, the Jain inscriptions which we get of 7th to 10th centuries, we do not get the mention of Chandragupta directly, except for a 2nd century text by Roman historian Justin. Justin writes his name, Chandragupta Maurya, but in other accounts he is referred to as Sandrocotos or Androcotos. And they have written about his glory, his rule, that how good a king he was, how powerful a king he was. That all is mentioned. But you don't get his real name, Chandragupta, there. There they have mentioned him as Sendrokotos or Androkotos. And if you see the different accounts, various Sanskrit texts and the Puranas, Arthashastra, as I told you, the Shakadatta's Mudra Rakshas, which was a play. Then Somdev's Katha Sadip Sagar, in that also is mentioned is there. Then Shenin's Brihat Katha Manjari. So where at various accounts you find his name, Chandragupta Maurya the Great. Like he is narrated as a very, very powerful, nice, and a valiant warrior, because he expanded the empires to a larger extent. Right. It was, as I told you, almost the entire India except Tamil Nadu, Kerala, and Odisha was under his rule. It's a huge empire, very huge empire. Yeah. Then if we see the Jain text, in that also at many places his name is mentioned, that he was a great king. He did a lot of reforms, and one thing which I wanted to mention is he was Hindu by origin, but in later years of his life, he took Jainism. Right. And there is a story that one of the Jain preacher, his name was Bhadrabahu. Yeah. So he told him that there was a famine of 12 years in his reign. So this Jain preacher, Bhadrabahu, told him it is because of the wars, it is because of the killings, the nature is punishing you. So that's why he went under he took the patronage of this Jain teacher at Shravanbelgola, Karnataka. Yes. And he learned about Jainism. And in many records it is mentioned that he renounced his kingdom and became a Jain. Yes. And there is a hill in Karnataka which is known by his name. It is known as Chandragiri Hill. Okay. Because he lived there and he practiced Jainism there, and finally he became a Jain monk. So if you see this transformation from a very powerful king to a Jain monk, again it shows that somewhere in his heart he understood that all the atrocities, all the wars which he waged, so many people he killed. So that was that feeling inside his heart that made him to go to this Jain preacher at Shravanbelgola. So all these accounts about him are very, very, they are explained very, very elaborately. As I told you, Roman, Greek, Latin, in all accounts you get the mention of the Maurya kingdom. And some of the one Greek ambassador, Megasthenes, he was in his court for 4 years. And Megasthenes wrote a book known as Indica. In Indica, he has explained about Chandragupta Maurya's character, about his kingdom, about his administration, about his army. You get a huge account of Chandragupta Maurya's reign from Megasthenes' Indica. So all these travelogues, and not only Megasthenes but many other, as I told you, Justin has mentioned his name. Plutarch has mentioned his name. So many historians, Roman and Greek historians, have mentioned and wrote about him in a very good way. That he was a very, very good king, and the best part of his kingdom was there. That a lot of economic prosperity was there in his kingdom. So if you go to a little deep, then why economic prosperity was there? Because his administration was such that each and every person in his empire was content. They were happy. All the things in the empire were smooth. That's why there was economic prosperity in his reign. So a very, most Indian subcontinent he ruled for a period of 24 years, except as I told you, Tamil Nadu, Kerala and Odisha. He ruled the entire Indian subcontinent. And to be unchallenged for such a long time period, 24 years is a long time. To be unchallenged again is a greatness. Maybe there were small outbreaks, civil wars, but nothing very major. And in one of the accounts it is mentioned that he met Alexander the Great. But if you see the time period, it differs. So again there is a dispute. There is a dispute whether he met Alexander or not. But Megasthenes, he writes in Indica that when Alexander came to India, that time Chandragupta Maurya was a young man, a very young, promising, bright man. Like that, in his account, he has mentioned about him.
So what I feel is, I think there's a lot of contribution of Chanakya also in his political establishment and of course economic development, because there are many stories which are connected to Chanakya and how he has propagated his political theories for kings and for somebody who is enjoying power. So I think that also we have to count, we have to take in.
It was the major factor on his personality. Chanakya had a very great influence on his personality, not only in his personality but in his kingdom also. Because as I told you, the principles mentioned in Arthashastra, if you happen to read Arthashastra, you come to know each and every designations, role, and what are the requirements. Everything is mentioned in Arthashastra. How a king should be, how a king should behave, what type of ministers he should have, and what policies he should make to keep the empire peaceful. Everything is mentioned in Arthashastra. So Chanakya was definitely a very big influence on the personality of Chandragupta Maurya and on the Mauryan Empire also. They go hand in hand. You cannot mention Chandragupta Maurya's name without Chanakya, and you cannot mention Chanakya's name without Chandragupta Maurya, because they both were very much together, and you see the influence of Chanakya on Chandragupta Maurya's life, on Chandragupta Maurya's character, in Chandragupta Maurya's empire. So everywhere it is very prominent. The teachings of Chanakya, because he was the chief advisor. Chanakya was his chief advisor. So whatever he said, he implemented. Chandragupta Maurya implemented. So this was the key.
Yeah, so I think this is very profound personality, and we will be discussing with points, and we'll take up administration and other aspects of his empire and his personality in coming series. But today it is so wonderful to talk to you, Mitaji, and discuss
one more thing, Kanchan. When you see the Sangam literature,
yes,
the Sangam literature, in that also Chandragupta Maurya's names mentioned is there. Okay. So you can just make out that how great a king he was.
Yes. Yes.
In two texts his name is mentioned.
Yes.
And see, after so many years, still we are talking about him.
Yes.
And our Indian Postal Service, they commemorated stamp on Chandragupta Maurya in 2001. You get his statue in outside Indian Parliament. So still his impact is there.
Yes,
very much there.
Yes, all great kings India is still having their impact on the new generation. And if somebody wants to know about them, there are so many texts and so many pointers where they can find out. So it was so wonderful to talk to you, Mitaji, today, and we'll take up this topic further, discuss many aspects of great Chandragupta Maurya in coming series. Thank you very much, Mitaji. It was wonderful to talk to you today. Bye-bye. See you tomorrow. Bye.
Hello friends, I'm Kanchan from Akulmek Technologies and you are welcome to our show of art and architecture. And today we are discussing very interesting topic and it is regarding Orcha architecture. Now, Orcha literally means a hidden place and it stays true to its name. Orcha architecture has a blend of Bundelkhandi and Mughal influence, and structure are not only appreciated for their mesmerizing beauty, but also for their intelligent engineering. And to discuss this topic, we have a great personality, Professor Amita Sinha. She is a former professor in the Department of Landscape Architecture at University of Illinois, USA, and also she has taught in the Department of Architecture and Regional Planning, IIT Kharagpur, and in the Humanities and the Social Sciences Department of IIT Gandhinagar. She is also author of Landscape in India and also editor of Landscape Perfection and co-editor of Cultural Landscape of South Asia. And before I introduce you to her, I also want to add up that she's a senior Fulbright researcher at an Indian National Trust of Art and Cultural Heritage in New Delhi. And she is also recipient of Fulbright Nehru Academic and Professional Excellence Award. So welcome to the show, ma'am. How are you doing today?
Very well. Thank you for inviting me.
So how is everything in Illinois? How is the weather there?
Well, spring is yet to come. We are waiting for it.
Okay, great. So as you know, we are discussing about mandala and influence of mandala in the architecture in India. And as I read somewhere that Orcha was founded in 1531 by Bundela Rajput chief Rudra Pratap Singh, who became the first king of Orcha. So can you please tell us how the medieval town of Orcha is based upon the planning according to mandala?
Yes. Let me go to my screen. So here we see two diagrams of mandalas from Puranic geography. And Hindus imagined the universe to be in the form of continents, ring-like continents separated by oceans. And in the very center was the continent of Jambudvipa, and to the south was Bharatvarsh. Now the center was held by Mount Sumeru. It was like an axis mundi reaching out to the heavens. And so what these mandalas tell us is that the number 7 is very sacred, for sure, but also the islands have great sanctity. So when the Bundelas decided to build their capital in Orcha, which is not too far away from Jhansi, only 16 kilometers. They chose a site which was already sanctified. It was on the banks of river Betwa, which emerges from Bhopal and goes on to meet Yamuna. And there are many streams cutting through the terrain. And remember, this is north of the Vindhyan ranges. So we have an undulating terrain with sandstone ridges going north-south, west-southeast. And when they chose this site, they built a fort, a Jaldurg, an island fort. So as I said before, islands have a special place in the Hindu imagination. And so this site was very auspicious. So what we see here is Betwa and its tributaries, Gurari and Jamner. And then there was another stream, which Adwar, which was made into a moat, and an island was thus created. And that's where they built the fort. And then they also built outside the fort. In fact, they built a city wall. And so if you look at the plan of Orcha, we have the inner core, which is the Jaldurg, and then we have buildings outside, monuments, palaces, temples, scattered all over the landscape. And then we have a kind of a circular wall, which surrounds the whole area. So today in Orcha, in 21st century Orcha, a lot of development has occurred. It remains as a small town, and there are panoramic vistas of temples and palaces which dominate the skyline. And when we mapped the terrain and buildings, we found that there were indeed circles, that guided the location of the buildings. So the very, central circles in the center had the palaces, Raja Mahal Palace and Jahangir Palace as a center. And then we had temples on the rims of the circles. The outer circle connected the gateway with temples and chhatris. In addition to the circles, we see also direct views from one building to the other. And in a way, we see yantras being formed. So for instance, this view shed between Lakshmi Narayan Temple, Ram Raja Temple and Chhatri is an isosceles triangle. So even though the triangles and circles were not really in the form of streets, but they were visual axes. And so there is a visual structure that followed the mandala and the yantra pattern.
So actually, as you were telling us that Orcha is a historical town located on the banks of Betwa in Madhya Pradesh. And I think it's very well-known place, and it's known for the grand palaces, intricate carved temples, famously known as the city of palaces. And it is a world-renowned for classical mural painting, frescoes, chhatris, and it were also constructed to commemorate the Bundela rulers. The Orcha old world charm cast a spell on tourists from all around the world. Now, when we are talking about mandalas, I also want to ask you, was Orcha fort designed according to the Vastu Shastra?
Yes, it was. So Vastu Shastras and Shilp Shastras have guidelines on building forts. And one of the category of forts is the Jaldurg. And so this Jaldurg, the fort of Orcha, it rises above the stream and the river Betwa, as you see in the slide. And the walls are very strong, the ramparts are very strong. And when we look at the plan, even though the island is not quite a circle, it is a kind of a polygon and it is tapering. But the planning of the palaces and temples inside was according to cardinal directions. So the central palaces faced the temples and they were east-west, and other palaces actually were at right angles to the longitudinal axis of the island. The island is like 12 degrees east of north. And in Jahangir Mahal, on the floor of one of the arcades, we found this very interesting diagram. It looks like a kind of a horoscope, with the building skyline and some numerals which we could not decipher. But this is very clear evidence that the Jal Durg was planned according to certain precepts of Vastu Shastra. We also see in the palaces an example of Paramsaik Mandal. So Raja Mahal, for instance, and Jahangir Mahal, both are squares and they have courtyards in the center. They are gridded squares. So on the upper floors, the grids guided the building of arcades, and on the topmost floor, they guided the building of domed chambers and chhatris. So the building became lighter with upper floors, and what we see is a kind of a inverted pyramid of open space. And this shows not only, as I said, the example of a Paramsaik mandala, but also it shows the influence of Indo-Islamic and especially Mughal architecture.
As the story goes, that after Babur's death, the Bundela Rajput chief Rudra Pratap, who ruled over a small area called Gar Kundar, found an opportunity to expand his territories. In 1531, he founded a city of Orcha, which was only 56 kilometers from Gar Kundar. He chose this stretch of land along Betwa, as the professor was telling, as an ideal site for his capital, and became the first Raja of Orcha. Now, when there are palaces and when there are other architectural structures, I'm sure there must be a good and expanded form of temples also were there, and you can see those temples even today. So tell us about the temples of Orcha.
The temples of Orcha are very famous. The most famous is the Ram Raja temple. And the story goes that one of the Bundela rulers, Madhukar Shah, his wife, Ganesh Kumari, was a great devotee of Lord Ram. So she goes to Ayodhya to get the deity. And finally, the deity appears in the river when she threatens to drown. And then she brought the deity on foot from Ayodhya to Orcha, and it took her 8 months. And meanwhile, the temple for Lord Ram was in the process of being built. But when she arrives in Orcha, the temple had not yet been completed. So she places it in her palace, Rani Mahal. And then the deity refuses to move. And so this palace becomes the most famous temple from where Lord Ram rules over Orcha. However, other temples are built according to Shilpa Shastra, and the mandala here is Panchayana mandala. The Chaturbhuj temple, which was originally meant for Lord Ram, and where Krishna is being worshipped today, is actually built in the form of the Chaturbhuj, the four-armed form. And here is the Rani Mahal, the Ram Raja temple, and here is the Chaturbhuj temple, which is directly in axis with Raja Mahal, so that the queen and the king would always keep in sight of the deity, and the deity would be giving them their darshan. The temple is very interesting. It is a kind of a play on the patterns prescribed in the Shilpa Shastra, in the sense that the mandap is at right angles to the Garbhagriha. So it almost seems like a basilica, and it's got soaring interiors, profuse carvings. Another interesting temple, Lakshmi Narayan temple, which is a little distance away from the town center, is planned in the form of rhomboid, and the tower over the Garbhagriha is an octagonal tower. Then there are smaller temples in the northern part of the Jal Durg, and they are smaller temples. We see spires over the Garbhagriha and over the mandap. And these temples were commemorating the Tapovan. And this is where the royals retired to do penance, to perform yagyas, and they worshipped both Ram and Shiva. So here is the Vanvasi Ram Mandir, the Shiva temples as well. And the iconography on the temples actually shows that these were temples for the ascetics or for the rajas doing penance, being like ascetics, for a period of time. Because on the relief, you see sages in the yogic mudra. And then there are other buildings also based on the mandal pattern.
So actually it is said that Orcha's most illustrious ruler was Raja Veer Singh Dev, a man of dashing personality. Veer Singh was a great warrior and he was also well versed in the art of statecraft. He was bold and imaginative administrator and a sense of fair play. Now he has created such a magnificent place, which we really look towards to visit and appreciate the architecture. Now, are there any other buildings in Orcha design on mandala patterns in that area?
Yes, we have Chhatris. Now, Chhatris are very interesting buildings. Chhatris are memorials to the Rajas. And we don't really see, Chhatris before the arrival of Muslims in India. And I think these Chhatris, the Bundela Chhatris, are very much patterned after the Mughal mausoleum, such as Humayun's tomb. As you know, in Hinduism, the body, is cremated on the banks of a river. And so the Bundela rulers were also being cremated on the banks of Betwa. But then they built these magnificent structures. And these were, as I said, memorial structures, because there are no remains, more bodily remains. There is no mausoleum as such. These are simply sites of cremation. But these edifices are built in the form, again, of Panchayana temples, a central tower with 4 smaller towers, or in this case, domes, and chhatris surrounding the central tower. And the grounds were designed in the shape of the Mughal Char Bagh.
Actually, when we see to this cultural landscape of Orcha evolved over the time as a barren wilderness was slowly transformed into picturesque capital of Bundelkhand. The settlement derived its name from the phrase Undochi, meaning low or hidden. The site indeed ball-like, buffed by bluff and forest. The Orcha fort is unique in Bundelkhand. The site selection was suitable for security. The fort was made inaccessible by the water all around it. Now, when we have so good architecture and the heritage and the know-how, the engineering, so I think that is a great responsibility to the new generation to preserve this heritage. So how can this built heritage can be preserved and communicated further?
That's a very good question. How do we preserve this heritage? So Archaeological Survey of India and State Archaeology are preserving certain buildings inside the Jal Durg. But then there are living temples, Ram Raja Temple, for instance, which attract pilgrims from many places, from as far away from Tikamgarh and Jhansi. So pilgrims also use the riverfront Betwa for bathing. They visit the temples. There are tourists who are coming to the island fort to see the palaces, and these are kind of 2 different separate worlds. So I think what needs to be done is to integrate the mythological world of the pilgrim with the historically oriented world of the tourist. And I think the scope of preservation should go beyond the buildings to the landscape at large. And so here we are proposing a system of trails. that will connect all the historic sites as well as the temple sites. So right now, the pilgrims come to Ram Raja temple, they visit a few temples in the northern part of Jaldurg, they go to the Betwa, they do the Panchkroshi. And then how about extending this trail to the Jaldurg and its other monuments, extending it in the form of a bike trail along the walls of the historic medieval town. And in this master plan that we propose, we are saying that Bundelkhand, this part of Bundelkhand, which is kind of a dry region, even though it's on the banks of the river, needs actually to be made productive again. And there is a lot of fallow land between the historic core. So how about along the trail, planting trees, doing water harvesting, and then using some of the water for the for residents and for running the number of hotels that are on the site, plus cleaning the moat, consolidating, the banks of the Betwa and making it accessible to tourists, so that anybody who visits Orcha can learn both about history as well as the sacred significance of this beautiful place.
I think maybe the decision maker and archaeologists are listening these comments which are being offered by you, and at the same time I also feel that there's a lot of education which has to be done in school, telling how to take care of the historical buildings which is a part of our culture and heritage. So what do you think about this? Shall we introduce a course in the school curriculum regarding this?
Yes, history can be taught with examples. It doesn't have to be, just words. And especially in programs such as design programs, planning programs, tourism programs, I think education should be very much be based upon the enormous heritage we have, and learning from examples, and then thinking about how to preserve not just the monuments but also cultural landscapes.
Yeah, actually this time has come that every Indian should feel proud of our rich heritage and culture. And as usual, it was so lovely to talk to you, Professor Amita Sinha. We'll meet again with the next episode. Till then, bye-bye. Take care.
Thank you.
Good morning, friends. Welcome to AkulMac Live, and I'm Chandrakant. There has been a lot of innovation in the EdTech area, and some says that the EdTech will completely replace the way we do education. To analyze this point further, I will be joined by a very eminent speaker from Singapore. Her name is Farida Chorania, and she is the CEO of CareerZoom. So, friends, let's welcome her. Good morning, Farida. Welcome to the show. How are you this morning?
Well, excellent. It's afternoon for us and it's been a very sunny day. So that's amazing. I'm very well, thank you. Hope you're doing well as well. And so I do hope our viewers are doing well as well.
Yes, Farida, thank you for asking. In fact, we are live right now, and viewers, if you have any question or comment, you can use the chat function of the social media, whichever social media you're watching this program, and we will display your name and question right away on the screen. So Farida, I think the topic of today's discussion is about EdTech. I think we would like to know from your experience, Where do you see our education system going globally?
It's a very vast topic, and the whole journey from classroom-based learning to online learning, the whole digitization has happened very, very quickly, not by design but by compulsion because of this whole pandemic situation. While there are different schools of thoughts, and there are different opinions on this, I do feel that edtech is very, very prominent because it will give opportunities to people who didn't have this opportunity earlier to actually kind of engage in upgrading their skills and educating themselves. However, it will not completely replace classroom learning because social cues, the ability to interact, the ability to kind of understand working in a team, etc. At least in my opinion, it's not very easy to replicate that on online resources. So I think the model will evolve, which will be hybrid, and more learning could be pushed to online, but still classroom learning will not be replaced. At least I don't see it getting replaced very quickly in the next 10-15 years.
Well, Farida, from your point of view, what are the new developments which are happening in the edtech space in order to make the experience of online component of the education system much more pleasing for the student? Would you like to talk about a little bit on this aspect?
Yes, certainly. So, as you know, and some of our viewers probably know as well, that I have a young child because I often talk about her. She's 8 now, and we live in Singapore, and the entire education system has been so there is actually an alternate education system which is available online because the schools actually close and open depending on how the pandemic is shaping up. So what they have done is that they have created HVL portal, which is called SLS. It's home-based learning portal, and the entire experience is, actually being in a virtual school. So you can go to different classrooms. You actually kind of, go to the library. You actually do your CCA, which is your sports activities, because there are videos and you follow the exercise, etc. So in some countries, it is actually, kind of being developed in a way that at any stage, it could be, either could be used, classroom-based learning or, home-based learning. So I think in a lot of countries, this model has evolved very well. And that, kind of opens up a lot of other doors. I'm a business person, so I think, top line, bottom line. And I start thinking where, all these differences are happening. For instance, online imparting of education is a lot cheaper because, your cost of books, etc. goes down, cost of printing goes down, your entire real estate cost actually goes down. But, it's been my personal experience where I have seen that children in this entire time, they have become extremely screen dependent. A lot of them have had their, myopia really badly impacted. I never used to see so many children with glasses, but now you do see them because one is lack of sunlight and they are always on the screen. So you see that is the downside. Children are putting on weight. I had never seen such round children in my entire life. But this entire 2 years, because the eating habits have changed, there are a lot of repercussions. But the good part is that in places where they did not have access to education that easily, now can be imparted. So I think this is evolution for good. There will be some downside like anything we use. So, because we will become more self-centric, we will, as an individual, when these children grow in this kind of hybrid environments, they may not make traditional choices in their careers because now they know that they have a lot of options. You don't really need to go to an office to make money because you can do it. So a lot of good things will also come out of this, but the downsides are also something that we need to consider. So while I don't know if this happens or not, but my expectation at least is that, we should, society as a global population, we should look at something which, encourages hybrid models, because either is not fantastic, but a good mix of classroom based engagement and online learning is fantastic. And also, online learning gives opportunities to adults, because a lot of these courses are asynchronous. That means you can actually do them at your own time. You complete your assignments at your own time. So working adults can actually, just educate themselves, enhance their skills. So edtech definitely is disrupting the industry. Real estate costs are very high, which gets passed on to the students. So if that is not there, the infrastructure cost to set up an online education system is definitely lower. And once you have set it up, there is only maintenance cost and upgradation cost. So that way, it's very good. But personally, if you ask me, I do see the downsides very closely, and I do hope that, we will evolve into a hybrid model going forward.
Farida, I think as you rightly pointed out, that the students are having a lot of screen time and they are used to using the the systems which are currently available. And like any other field, there is a lot of advancement in AI, for example, taxation, office automation, etc. So do you see a role of AI emerging in making sure that the experience of the students is not merely limited to screen, but a virtual augmented reality environment in education?
Yes, I do think that, education is evolving much faster in the last couple of years than it ever evolved in the last 200 years. So yes, so right now probably the focus is on just making sure that you are imparting the education as per the times and as per the age and the learning capacity of that individual. But slowly things like gamification, etc., will come in, and there are a lot of companies which are already, kind of taking steps in these directions. Some of them will become unicorns. Like nobody thought Uber will become a unicorn. Nobody thought borrowed cars without any infrastructure a company could actually become that big. And same thing will happen in education as well, because the entire experience of the student is going to change. It may not merely be limited to screens. It could be, it could be a virtual reality glasses. It could be anything. You don't know, because what seems very unlikely today might be a reality tomorrow. 20 years back, we didn't think actually, we would be using our phones as our personal entertainment systems. We just thought it's a phone, but today it's no longer just a phone, it's your bank, it's everything. So, what seemed unlikely in the past is very much happening today. Nobody ever thought that, maybe digital currency would replace actual money, but in some countries it's actually replaced it completely. Like China, if you don't have digital currency, you can't make a transaction. So it will all happen, but we don't know how long it takes. It might take much lesser. So I think to enhance the experience of the students, taking this education right from very young kids to adults who are going to adult learning, etc. This experience will be augmented. The AI will come into picture, and AI is coming into picture everywhere. AI is not here to replace humans. Like I always say, it's here to augment their experience. And that is going to happen. It might actually kind of, even AI might come into things like examinations, because in a virtual environment, it's very difficult to figure out if someone is, not really kind of being honest with the examinations. And AI can actually, kind of come into picture there. So all of these things are possible, but only time will tell how they are going to evolve.
And you mentioned a very important point about the evolution of education. And I think while there is a lot of screen time for the students who are studying in an online manner, however, I don't see any evolution over there, because they are still following the classroom pattern. They are still using the textbook. And the only difference is that instead of sitting in the classroom, the teacher is standing in front of a camera. However, Why this evolution is not taking place, I firmly believe is related to regulation. So I think that the governments of various countries also need to come out with regulation. What is your opinion on this point? Do you see, or do you have a message to various governments with in this area?
Yes, certainly. So the thing is that, like I mentioned earlier, in Singapore, it's very structured. Actually, Zoom classes are not very common here in Singapore because the entire experience is like a school setup online. So, children actually, and all these lessons are pre-recorded and, children actually take these lessons. So it really depends where you are. Now, in large countries, it's very difficult, one, to, kind of align regulations, because if you consider a country like India, it's very vast. Not everyone has access to fantastic bandwidths. Not everyone has access to, say, laptops, because a lot of them, and I know of cases where, children are studying through the phone when the schools are closed. So not everyone has access to those kind of screens. Again, languages. In India, not all education is imparted in English. It is, imparted in so many languages. So those kind of, geographies, if you look at, say, India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Nepal, or, even for instance, you say Indonesia. So these countries, the regulations are very difficult to set in. But they would come in because there is, you sooner or later, you have to join the bandwagon. It's like, whole digitization pace. Like, for instance, in Africa, the entire digitization happened not because they are very forward. It happened because they don't have infrastructure. And it's a lot easier to set up digital infrastructure than to actually do brick and mortar. So, it was much easier. And that whole, pivot happened because of that. Now, various governments, I'm sure, are, kind of working towards this and there. But I think what would really help is if there is a central body globally which is able to guide and give directions. So certain things could be common across all geographies. Because if this is going to be the world tomorrow, then the hybrid models need to be, kind of, they can't be customized. I mean, they can be customized, but they can't be very different from each other globally. Because what will then happen, that some countries where it's very fantastically structured will move very much ahead of the other countries where this infrastructure is not available. So there has to be a central body which is able to, govern as to what is the best way to kind of, align this. So I think my message to any government and people who are listening is that we definitely need a global central body, and every country has to pivot. They have to kind of, come out with the ways where the cost can be reduced and more knowledge can be imparted. More students can actually get educated.
Actually, you mentioned about difficulty in taking out the education system, especially in a country like India, where there are so many languages and so many different types of board systems, etc. So I think the good news is that the Indian government realized there is a need for this, and they actually standardize the NCERT curriculum across the nation. And it is provided online, yes, and it is free. So I think they have taken the first step, but I think subsequently the Indian government has to create a framework to allow innovation in this area. Having made this point, I'd like to ask you that how you yourself in personal capacity or your company CareerZoom is planning, or you have some ideas about reforming the education system, whether in Singapore or any other place?
Sure. So I do work with companies in the edtech space more, as an advisor, as a board member. And one of the things which, again, education is something which is very close to my heart, because I think everyone should, it's a basic thing and everyone should have access to education. So one of the things that, which I kind of aspire to do is with the companies that I work with, that education in terms of, skills upgrading. So, the ability to learn different languages, ability to learn, different coding, etc. All of this should be available to everyone. And that needs to be done, at the top. It can't be a one-person game. It has to be done at the top. It has to come from the top in terms of the availability, innovation in this area. How quickly can you actually, kind of get people onto it? How easy it is for them to understand this mode of, instruction? And more importantly, the governments as well as companies need to recognize these qualifications, because that's still a very large gap. Like, I have an online PhD, but I don't really kind of call myself Dr. Farida Charania, because though, my entire thesis is actually as someone who would, kind of have done with a coach, etc., with a guide and all of that. Honestly speaking, I don't know if it is recognized. So even if I just put it somewhere, there is no, recognition for things like that. And of course, I got this PhD a few years ago, but the thing is that even today, if I were to have the same PhD, it might not be recognized. So I think the framework needs to come into spaces where what can be recognized as formal education and what can be recognized as skill upgradation, and all of these certifications need to be recognized. It's not just a piece of paper or just not a digital certificate. So I think the pivot needs to be made there. That is very key. And then of course innovation comes in to make it easier to access, easier to understand, and easier to, or rather, enhance the experience of people involved in this. But the first pivot is to really, kind of get to a stage where all of these certifications can be recognized.
Absolutely, Farida ji. In fact, I second you absolutely on these points, and I think you have spoken very well. I'm sure the viewers would have got some idea. This is a very vast subject. It requires more number of sessions. So as the technology evolve, we will keep following this, and we will invite you again in future for more information and ideas from you. So thank you so much for joining us today. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you very much. Always excited to have this chat with you, CK, because always, happy to be on your show. And I think we have some great chemistry here, where it's not just about discussing, but we do come out with certain things which could be useful for people. So yeah, I mean, happy to come on your show anytime that you call me. So great. Thank you very much, CK. Absolute pleasure. And thank you all the viewers. Stay well, stay healthy. And I think a lot of viewers would be actually celebrating Diwali. So yeah, happy Diwali in advance. Thank you very much. Bye for now.
Thank you, Farida ji, and happy Diwali to you too. And we will catch up in the next one. Good morning, friends. This is Chandra from AkulMac Technologies. Welcome to Top Brass. This week we will talk about the events which unfolded in our legal system within 14 hours, 14 to 15 hours, during the mayhem and the rioting that was happening in the northeast part of Delhi, soon after Trump left. So this issue is not related to the writing itself. It is related to transfer of Justice Muralidharan. Now let me give a little bit background about this particular judge. He has, or rather Judge Muralidharan has given some of the remarkable judgments which has profound effect on the Indian legal system and Indian society by and large. He is the perfect judge. He has thorough knowledge of the law, and he is also implementing it thoroughly. He is one of the top luminary as far as legal systems are concerned. Justice Muralidharan was transferred uh, after giving a verdict against the Delhi police, and which was then utilized by a lot of political parties, and it was all in the media and so on. So I just want to dissect this particular event, so that and give my own analytics on how it happened, and what happened during that 14 hours. So when the rioting was going on in northeast part of Delhi, there is a lawyer. In fact, there are activists. I don't want to tell their complete name. I just use their last name only, surnames, which is father and daughter Mandars. Their surname is Mandars. So the daughter Mandar gave a petition related to the law and order situation in northeast part of Delhi, and there was writing, and petition is about safety security of people. Ideally, this such a petition should have gone to Chief Justice of Delhi High Court, but on that day, Justice Patel was on vacation, and then through the legal process of how the cases are distributed in Delhi High Court, it landed in the court of Justice Muralidharan. So he listened to this argument, and there was, since it was a grave situation in northeast part of Delhi, he decided to hear the case in the middle of the night at his residence. So, which is also a normal practice, that in case of emergencies, the judges open cases in their residence, and they call the staff and also sometimes other judges just in case. So Justice Muralidharan heard the case, opened the case, and gave judgment at 1:30 in the middle of the night. And the judgment is about instructing Delhi police to provide protection to people, which is fair. As far as legal system is concerned, this is absolutely fair. And the follow-up date was given on the same day, which is like 1:30 in the night, at around 12 o'clock, 11:30, 12, when the next hearing was set up. And while this case was being heard, just before that, the father advocate Mandar gave another petition related to the same event. So now there are two petitions related to the arson, mayhem, and rioting which is happening in northeast part of Delhi. And hearing all this from the legal standpoint, the justice gave a order or his verdict, saying that Delhi police responsibility is to provide protection to people and ensure that these things are calmed down. While giving these things, this kind of a judgment, the judge also used words like unprofessionalism on account of Delhi police, etc., etc., which is also fair. And from legal standpoint, this is what judge felt at that point in time based on hearing both the parties. And the next date was set up, and that means the judge gave 24 hours to Delhi police, since the situation was so grave at that point in time, that within 24 hours you should submit your response, saying that why you have done the work professionally and what is the situation. Now at that point in time, we all know, we have heard the news that Delhi police was really having a lot of tough time. They were losing their officers, police officers. In fact, there was so much news about this attack on police officers with acids and stuff like that. So I don't want to talk too much about the mayhem part of it, but nutshell, I want to say that Delhi police was having a really tough time at that point in time, and on top of it, the legal system is basically sort of putting a lot of pressure on Delhi police to give an appropriate response when they are fighting for their lives. And they have so much pressure that they have to bring the calmness. They were basically announcing in that area that announcing and asking people to calm down and go back to their home. At the same time, they were trying to not use lethal options like firing and stuff like that. They didn't do it, and they were losing their officers. So in such a situation, I think Delhi police really played a very vital role in controlling the whole thing. and they didn't want the morale of their officers come down, because if that would have come down, then situation would have been become very, very grave at that point in time. So ensuring that the morale of Delhi police is always kept up, the government of India transferred this judge. Now let me take you back a little bit in time. This judge, Justice Muralidharan, was actually transferred on February 12th, much before all this happened, much before Trump came to India, much before the mayhem started and blah blah. It's like 2 weeks back he was transferred. The process is that the collegium, which is the group of judges in Supreme Court, they decide which judge will work where, and this collegium had decided based on their pressures and what is needed where. The collegium decided that along with 3 other judges, Justice Muralidharan will also be transferred. So Justice Muralidharan was transferred to Punjab and Haryana High Court in Chandigarh on February 12th. But in order to exercise this transfer, the government had to notify, and they were taking it easy and so on and so forth, and the consent of judge was also taken before the transfer. So it happened as per the book, as per the legal system, as per the consent given by everyone, which is all the senior judges, the collegium, which is a collective of judges, and also the judge who were transferred. So in this case there are 4 judges who are transferred, including Justice Muralidharan. All of them have given their consent to get transferred. Now having said that, when this judgment came where Delhi police was pulled up, the government notified the transfer. That means, as per the process, whatever judgment any judge gives on that day, if he is transferred on that same day, all the judgments are null and void. So I think it was on the part very important activity that government of India had to do in order to keep the morale of Delhi police high, is to just make sure that the judgment which is sort of negative in favor of Delhi police does not affect their morale. So they transferred the judge, because anyway the judge is transferred, all they had to do is basically notify this order. They notified, and consequently all the judgments given by in the middle of the night at 1:30 and also in the afternoon at 2:30 on the same day are null and void. Basically there is no follow-up. This particular judge cannot make a follow-up. Hence, the Delhi police now get at least 6 weeks to respond, not one day. So now everything is fallen in place. Delhi police has enough time. Delhi police has filed a lot of FIRs. They are investigating, and they can submit a proper response. So that is what they needed also. So this is what has happened last week with regard to transfer of Justice Muralidharan. Even though it has been politicized, but I don't think the political parties have any legal standpoint. They can just make noise and they can probably fool some people. But as far as legal system is concerned, as far as the process is concerned, there's nothing wrong in doing this. And Government of India ensured that the morale of police, which was very important at that point in time, is also kept high. So this is my analysis on this issue. I will meet you again tomorrow with some more analytics. Till then, bye-bye.